I met a
Gypsy Gang, and today, before we get into this episode, just going to give you an announcement of a new sponsor that I actually chased down to get them on the podcast, and that was because I really wanted to start using their products again. Now, if you've been following the podcast recently, you would know that we're on a massive health kick as we get ready to take on World Vets at Glen Helen in November of 2023. Athletic Greens is not only an all-in-one formula that helps me just cover all my nutritional bases, it's also the first healthy habit that I have that starts every single day. It sets the tone for a healthy day and just keeps my eyes laser focused on Glen Helen at the end of the year. Definitely notice improvements to my skin and massive improvements to my overall gut health. AG1 is packed with 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients of the highest quality that are able to offer gut health support, mood support, can affect your energy each day, and contribute to overall healthier looking hair and skin. Go to athleticgreens.com/gypsytales if you want to get that free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs added to your first order. Thanks so much to the guys and girls at Athletic Greens. We're excited to have you on board.
Smell. Yum. It's actually pretty good.
Oh, it's way better than what I thought.
If you're in the content game, that's all you say all the time.
It's content.
Like,
This is good
stop
content.
talking.
It's good content. We're wasting good. This could be a clip.
Like your missus proposed to you or something. Like, oh wait, good content.
Are you sure this angle's sweet? Are you getting? Are you rolling on this? Speaking of that, are we rolling, Griff?
Oh, I was gonna say you're literally in the middle of being on the tools. Like, wait, this is great content. Have you heard about the internet and
what you could
do with these kind of videos?
Denan Kemp is joining us on the podcast today. He is the bloke in a bar, if you don't know, and I've been waiting for years to do this podcast. So I'm very excited. It's almost like we've been doing a podcast since you got here. So we're just finally rolling now. We're not wasting any more good chat.
Yep, absolutely. I've seen, I think we met years and years, would have been 3 or 4 years ago. We either ran into each other or I met someone that knew what you were doing. And I think, you know what, Corey Parker. When he started doing something, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think I obviously saw you did a thing for a little bit
we're doing
together.
Gypsy and the Fox.
Yeah. That was cool. And I think that's when I first got introduced to you.
Yeah, right.
And what else is weird is that so I went to save your number in the phone, my phone. It was already there. That's weird, eh?
Yeah. I've had that happen before though.
You just, are you like a Charmeleon? Did you get dressed up as a chick and go out one time and I was blind hit on you or something?
Look, it was Thailand. there was some fake tan.
Mate, I'm stoked to be here.
It's funny because you're a guy that I look up to in a lot of ways. Even though we've never met, we've been speaking and stuff. But I'm like, man, you're like my best mate that I just don't know yet because we're both in a very unique position and we do a very unique job. And I think that at least mentally, I can draw so many parallels with your career and what I do now. And in Australia, especially the content world and the podcast world, and it's a pretty lonely spot in a sense. There's not that many of us that would do what we do on the scale that we do it. And I think you guys have got a little bit more going on the commercial front. But in terms of the position in the sport, your ability to have conversations and control narratives and to then the day-to-day of you running the business and the merch and there's just not that many people that I could explain how I'm feeling to you about any given work circumstance, and I feel like you could understand in a way that not many other people could.
Oh, mate, 100%. It's I think as well, as you, progress, do you ever look at some big companies and you're always the same few highly skilled people are getting hired by, they may have gone poorly at one company, but then they get hired by another company and you're going, what the hell's going on there?
Yeah.
But what I'm starting to realize is that the further you progress, the more specialized your skill set becomes.
Yeah.
So for example, and you'd be the same, I can host a podcast. It's one of the biggest in the country. but I can also run a business. I can also create merch.
Yeah.
I can also create funny content on the internet. I mean, I hope it's funny. I can also create a beer recipe with a brewer. Do you know what I mean? And so these are like a very wide range of skill set that usually you're quite pigeonholed, and it's okay. Like sometimes it's really good to hone in and specialize in one thing, but like, you know, a lot of CEOs that are doing really well. I'm not like a CEO or whatever. No,
you're a girl boss. Come on.
I'm a girl boss. I'm a girl boss. But they specialize in so many different things, and that's what makes them really good at being able to run such a complex thing.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think a lot of people, even a lot of your fans listening to your podcast, they'd assume that you rock in, you do your podcast, you cruise home, and that's kind of it.
It's that easy.
It's that
Honestly,
easy.
Hey, how to start a podcast. Rock up, sit down, talk, and leave, and it's done.
That's it. But, you know, you've got the generation of revenue to pay the staff, all that kind of stuff that you have to take care. I mean, it's like any small business. But I think with podcasting, there is this kind of illusion of just chatting.
Yeah.
In saying everything I just said, mate, it's
best
the
job in the world.
It's fuck. We are so lucky.
Yeah.
And you know what frustrates me sometimes, bro, is like, you know, I've met some other people in the space, and, you know, I'll always say, mate, we're so lucky. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, but, like, you know, I worked really hard. Like, I worked my ass off. I was like, bro, that's a prerequisite.
Yeah,
like,
that's everything.
Yeah, okay, sweet. Like, what, you think the single mum with 3 kids isn't working hard?
The chick that's baking sourdough?
You think she's not working hard?
It's fucking hard to get right.
Mate, you're up at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
You think the bloke you're working in the mines that has to pay child support, you think he's not working hard?
Yeah.
Do you really think you're... Because I've been in above ground mines, coal terminals. There are blokes there that live in... That's all they do. That's all they do.
Yeah.
And so when people say, oh, I work really hard, like, yeah, okay, sweet, but...
Everyone does.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
We don't deserve a pat on the back for that.
Yeah.
Like, it's... Of course.
Yeah.
It's a privilege to do what we do. We're very lucky to do what we do. Like, again, another comparison, like, there's countries all over the world with children that work harder than us.
Yeah.
But we were fortunate enough to be born in this country.
Yeah.
With a certain, you know, parents or whatever. What's crazy is, like, I'm not sure about you, but I grew up with no money. But because I live in Australia, I've got opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's luck. That's pure luck.
100%, man. I think that, well, I mean, I could go on a huge rabbit hole when it comes to this, but I think luck's really all you have in life, and it literally just starts with your parents. You know, like a guy on the podcast today, Christian Craig, he come on, and his dad was like a Supercross champion, like the whole deal, and then life got railroaded by drugs. You know, and it's just like, then you go to like his life, and that would be unlucky in that sense, you know, and then he made something. Well, for me, like, I never had to face the adversity that comes along with that. That's just pure luck. Before you even, you know, like, before I even make a decision that then influences my future, you know, like, everyone's got such a different starting point. And then I think there's another thing that bridges off that too, then, is like, you look at him, like, he had that shit go down in his life, but he still made it. Yeah. And now, like, he's a super young dad with 3 kids, and he's just like like, I watch his videos that he puts out to watch him as like a father, and the way that he raises his kids. So it's like terrible luck turns into good luck for those kids. Like, it's literally just this cacophony of luck at every stage. And it's like, if you can be like present enough in the moment to just be like, God damn, like, so lucky. How good.
100%. And I never wanted to be one of those people that, like, got to the point where I'm at. And don't get me wrong, I'm still extremely competitive, extremely ambitious.
Yeah.
But also, there is a future for me where if I get paid enough to sit down and talk footy each week, and my family is healthy, like, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm genuinely okay with that. It's not something where I'm like, oh no, like, my life's bad. Like, that's a win for me. That's a massive win. And I think as you get older, you kind of start to realize that.
Yeah.
You know, when you're younger, you want everything, and you've got wide eyes, the world's huge, and then you, as you get older, like Christmases, instead of, you know, getting on the beers Christmas Eve and getting blind and sleeping in the next day for a family event, instead of that, you're not getting on the beers and you're waiting for the family event because you can't wait to see the family.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's the headspace I'm in at the moment. Just extremely motivated, but very, very fortunate.
I think that's a very good place to be at in your life, when you can be still striving, but not have any of the suffering that's attached to not having what you want.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's not like you don't want things now, but you can want things and not feel any ill effects as a result of it, and
Absolutely.
you can still cruise and be grateful. And that's I think that's the kind of like a dream state to be in a sense.
Well, it's kind of like those things that you want, they shouldn't fill you up.
Yeah.
You know, they should just be things that you enjoy. What fills you up should be in my opinion anyway. And look, I'm no guru. Like, everyone has a different path, and you know, but even like I look at like billionaires and that, I'm like, how much is enough? Like, when do you hit that point where you go, okay, I'll do something to stay active. Everyone needs to continue to work and all that kind of stuff. But at what point do you start going, you know, maybe I'm being a little bit greedy here? Like, you know,
this is excessive.
Yeah, like, look, I mean, I've got $200 million in the bank. You know, maybe the rest of the $800 million could. And look, I'm no like, you know, I love I'm a capitalist. Like, I like capitalism. Obviously, not crony capitalism and all that kind of stuff. Like, I understand it's corrupt. Every system has corruption. I get that. But I do think capitalism is the best way to break through. Like, look at us. Like, you know, we had the opportunity because of capitalism to do what we did. But I do think that, like, you know, just creating wealth just for the sake of it. Yeah. It's almost like, what are we doing here? Yeah. What are we doing?
I'd be so, I guess though, the wealth that you're talking about, you kind of can't fuck that up.
Yeah.
But like, I would be, there'd have to be a range of money that you had in your bank account. Maybe it's around like $4-5 million. Like, maybe around, like, you can fuck that up. Like, you can fully shit the bed.
If you're a male from 18 to 30, you can fuck that up.
Dude, to 50. Like, like, you can fully fuck the pooch on that one. So, like, I always wonder, like, what's the money? I guess that'd be fuck you money, right? Where it's like you could own shit, you could say shit, do shit, and like people just like can't take it off you, because there's got to be a range where like you're balling, but you could still lose the bag. Yeah,
there has to be. I wonder what that cutoff point is. I really do. Like, and so as I said, I think it's good that you're motivated, and it's really good for me, like, and for yourself that we're motivated in that. But I do think there has to be a means to an end. Like, it can't just be like forever chasing. Like, there has to be a point where you go, you know, like, I've done okay, and although money may continue to come in, I'm no longer pursuing that for just me. You know, whether it's helping your family, whether it's you know, like, you hear stories like billionaires and that like won't even.
Buy the kid a car.
And so I think that all ties back into, like, you know, being really motivated, but also appreciating what you have. Because if you're constantly chasing, then it's a rat race. Then you're just like this, spinning your wheels. So that's where I'm at right now. Extremely lucky, but as I said, pretty motivated.
Yeah, I think charity is a cool one there. Like, I think you'd probably get to a certain point in time where you would start just wanting to help other people. Like, I know through the podcast, I've got to a level where, like, I've pretty much got everything that I wanted. Like, I had pretty low expectations. You know what I mean?
Mate,
like,
I was the same.
Dude, if I could have like a sick bike and like a truck to get my bike to the track, and like I had heaps of gear, and like I could like go riding, and pretty solid, you know, like, and I got to a point doing this where I almost felt like guilty with how much stuff that I would get. Like, you add like a podcast like yours, a podcast like this, like anything that people like really listen to, and really, it's like a thing that's gone for years, and it's become like a part of the culture, like you are with the NRL. Then it's like, when you provide value, people want to, like, it's like reciprocal, even if it's not cash, like whatever it is, like people value you giving them value, you know?
And you're sitting there going, Mo, thank you for just listening, bro.
So you end up in like a weird position, and it was like, okay, I'm good, and then you start giving to other people, and then you start seeing the reaction, and like before that, it was weird, like I'm similar, like didn't come from much, and I remember like I would like not even wear shoes when I got shoes, because I was like, oh, I've got them, I don't want to fuck them, you know, like was like, but I was like that with everything. And then it's like, that's not a great place to be. It's sort of like a zero-sum mindset, but you understand where that mindset comes from, like, you know, when you put your life in context. But then to like get past that, and then just like really give things away as much as possible, and then doubly again, it seems like more stuff comes back to you. So like, I've kind of just like resigned to the fact of like, I'm just going to do as much good as I can, and I'm not going to overthink it, or I'm not going to try. I'm not going to try and do good. Like, let's keep this at a very natural level, and it will kind of like go at cruising altitude in a sense. But I think that the more wealth that you would get would give you more of an opportunity to do more good for people. And dude, like $500 can go a long way.
Oh, 100%.
Like, you know, to get to the point where like you could give a sum of money, even in that sense of way. Like, there's a charity called Against Malaria, and it's all it is it just provides nets to kids and families in Africa.
Seems so simple. Like,
so easy.
Another example of how lucky we are.
Yeah.
Nets.
But to be in a position to where you could like continually do something like that, you don't have to be a crazy rich person to do something like that.
Yeah.
And like the good that can come out of that is like quite immense,
massive.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think, just to be lucky enough to be in a position where you can, your job is to like provide value, and then it seems to create some kind of like positivity loop if you can, I guess, like maintain that, you know?
Yeah, as I've gotten older, I kind of feel, you know, as you're growing from like 20 to 30 or 18 to 25 or whatever, you're kind of finding out like, what is it to be a man? Like, what is it to be a man? Especially, you know, in today, it has been quite convoluted. You know, back in the day, it was probably, you had a pretty good outline as to what it was being a man. Whereas these days, it is quite convoluted. But I've kind of, again, only 35. I'm sure when I'm 55, I'll look back when I was 35 and go, mate, you knew absolutely nothing. So I'm aware of what I don't know. But I feel now that a man's job is to provide for the people he loves in his community. Like whether it's value, whether it's time, whether it's experiences. And that's what's so like why I think that podcasting you're so fortunate to do, because not only do you get paid to do that, but you are constantly providing value for your community. Like this is a community that you would be a part of.
Yeah, whether you had no skin in the game. Yeah.
And so that's why we're just like the luckiest people in the world, because we get to do it for a job, but I do it for free. I mean, I did it for free for ages, and I will still talk for like. So it's very fulfilling for me, and also it opens your eyes up to. I'm sure you would have it too. Like something will happen, you'll say something, and it'll have a lot of impact in the community or whatever. Yeah, and you'll step back and go, "Holy! Like I didn't realize that this was like that. Like I didn't realize what I said was so important to so many people." Yeah. There's some responsibility in that for sure, but also there's like a lot of power in that, and so it's. As I said, I just keep going back to it. I just feel so lucky, bro. So lucky.
I think one of the other things, I guess, while we're on like this sort of topic, I think that there's also like a switch that you kind of like have to flip if you're going to do it consistently, like over a long enough period of time. I think that you end up having to become a man of your word because your word is all that you have. And that's I actually think that was probably an element I was missing in my life. And if you looked at like the trajectory of my life in detail, then you could probably, like I could easily go back and fix the problems of my 20s as this dude now.
With the information you have now.
Yeah, and it came about through the podcast. Like I got on, I started doing it in like 2017 and then was like, all right, like I saw a future. I saw something that I really could be good at. I saw something that I really enjoyed doing, and then I saw a market that it could live in. So then instantly I was like, all right, don't fuck this up, because it like could be good. And like not fucking it up comes with like being good with your word and like really like being careful with what you say. And then, you know, like we've this whole the whole fucking podcast has just been like one G up basically for 5 years of like we say some dumb shit on here, and then in the real world we're like, fuck, now we need to drive to Perth.
Do it. Damn it.
So but it's like it's been such a great thing in my life, and like for me I always talk about like meditation and reading. Like I'm a heretic for it at this point, and it's a dead horse, but like I really believe in it. And it was like a feedback loop that got created, because it was like I was talking about it from a place of like knowing this to be true and really believing it, but then I'd have to like walk the talk, and I'd have to get up if I'm telling people that
Yeah.
that you should really be getting up early in the
accountability.
morning and fucking like there's some if you're lacking, if you're looking for something, if you're there's something you need to know or figure out, like there's fucking books here. Like this medium has never changed.
Yeah.
From the invention of a pen and paper, the shit's been the same. There's something to this, you know.
It works.
Yeah, and so, but then on the backside of that, it's just like this accountability. And if I say I'm gonna do something at the end of the year, well, fuck, like you got to do something. And I think that it's hard to do that on the internet. It's hard to put yourself out there and like not have that go the other way and have like a negative impact. But I really think that there's a level of accountability. And I guess it's made me like value just social media and the internet in a different way, because like even if you're not a person that's speaking to like millions of people, then, you know, in your own life, in your own community, like you can put things out there and you can like follow through with what you say. And there is an aspirational element to, you know, that, or there's like a butterfly effect that can have.
Yeah, for sure. I got a funny story about keeping your word. It's not public facing. It was like, anyway, so I had a betting agency sponsor the podcast years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the NRL teams. Like,
so that's how you bought your Ferrari?
Mate, I wish this was peanuts back in the day. Anyway, so yeah, I had a betting agency, and so there was a few boys in the NRL team that I won't obviously say who they were, but like they loved to punt. Wasn't crazy or anything like that. Anyway, so one of them come to me and said, "Oh mate, I can see that you're with X betting agency. Like, do you reckon you could hook us up?" And I was like, "Yeah, sweet, I'll do what I can." And I went to the guy that like got me under the betting agency, and I was like, "Mate, what do you reckon? Like, if the boys put in X amount, could you even bonus bets for matching or whatever?" Anyway, he was like, "Yeah, all good." And so I rang the boys back. I'm like, "Yep, boys, you're on." And so they're all whooping up, you know. They got a race day. It's the best day ever. Bonus bets, boys. We're on. Kempy's helped us out. I'm sitting there going, "Mate, I'm a king. I'm a king amongst men. I'll just help the boys out. They're going to have the best day of their life, and they're going to thank Kempy." Anyway, so I get a call like the day before from the guy, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, mate. I just spoke to my bosses, and we can't do it." And because I had already said I did, what I did was I put on a credit card all the money that would have been matched and paid it. They don't know this. They'll never know this. And put the bonus bets in their account with my own money.
No way, dude.
Yep. Just because I didn't want to be like, "Oh, sorry, bros, I couldn't do it."
That's a fair shout.
I don't know if I would do it ever. It was on a credit card. I had no money at this stage. I was busted. Yeah, I was busted.
And they're like high level boys that you really don't want to go back on the word.
It was just not necessarily the high level. It's because they were in the community. Like I'm an NRL. I'm an ex NRL player.
Yeah,
they're NRL players. I didn't want them to be like, "Oh, you can't be talk shit." Like he talked it up, can get his bonus bets and that.
Yeah.
And then come to the thing, and he brushed it. So they don't know that this happened, and they'll probably never, or they'll never know. But that's how much it was like desperate to like. No, don't get me wrong. Don't take that lesson on board. don't pay it on a credit card, guys.
Yeah.
But it's just an example.
It's not financial advice.
It's not financial advice. But it's an example of how important your reputation is in a community. It changes you from the door. You can spend as much money as you want, but the doors that you've opened through creating good relationships in your current community have come through purely hard work that cannot be bought. Cannot be bought. And so I agree with you. It's really important just to have that reputation where people go, "Nah, he's legit." Like even if they like don't really like his stuff, don't think he's funny, whatever, they'll still say, "But mate, he's a good bloke. He's a decent bloke." So the accountability is huge, bro. Absolutely huge.
Yeah. Did you understand the impact or the importance of community too? Like you touched on the community aspect.
Yeah.
Like, did you have any idea going into it, like how important the community side of it would be, and like building the community, and like even how much fun you could have in the community in a sense?
So there's the Bloke community, and then to me there's like my personal community of like NRL players. I still identify as an NRL player, and then there's a Bloke community. So like I always was aware, you know, having grown up playing team sports, like, and also I just think there's this primal kind of urge for men to come together and get a job done, whatever it is. There's nothing better.
Yeah.
Whatever, like you could be some army drill, it could be building something together, whatever it is, it's men coming together and working something out together. There's nothing better in my opinion. Like it is, I mean, well, there are some things better, but there is a primal urge to kind of work together as men and conquer something, and not in a negative context. Don't use conquer in the negative word, but in a positive sense, conquer a challenge.
Yeah.
And so I was always aware of that. I honestly, if I'm being totally honest, I didn't think I was shocked that a lot of people liked me. So when people used to come up to me at the start, I would be like awkward because I would feel like, I can't believe how much you like me. Like,
yeah.
Why do you like me so much?
I'm actually a dickhead, bro.
In my head, I was like, why do you like me so much? It's weird. It's strange because I don't feel I deserve to be liked so much.
Yeah.
And that may stem from like, the typical got bullied when you're going up, all that carry on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wasn't sitting there going, I'm going to be the focal point of a big community and rah. I was almost too embarrassed to even consider that. Like, for example, the reason why Bloke blew up, not the reason. Well, yeah, I think it's the reason. So I was doing the interviews, and they were going really well, building a good, solid audience. But I was, the whole time, before every podcast, before every post, I always asked myself, like, it's about the player. It's about the player.
Yeah.
Don't make it about yourself. Don't make it about yourself. And what's really interesting is, as I said, it built up a good audience. But the year that I said, I'm going to be myself and just, like, put myself out there, like, comedy is, like, I'm not some comedian or whatever, but we do a lot of comedy stuff. And it's a very personal thing, comedy. Because, like, if you put yourself out there and people are like, bro, that's not funny. It crushes you. You're dunskies. Like, if you say a joke and everyone looks at you weird and goes, that was so bad, bro, it smashes you in your chest. And so, the year that I was like, you know what? Like, it happened 2 times. Okay, so when I changed from side group, played soccer till I was 17 years old. Yeah. Then I went and got scouted by rugby league because I was mucking around with some mates at school. Anyway, so I didn't know the rugby league culture at all. Like, as in, I couldn't tell you most of the NRL players, only maybe the big stars. But outside of that, I couldn't tell you what it was like to be in a team. In soccer, it's like, yes, sir, no, sir, water bottle with you everywhere, aren't allowed to wear thongs, like very like, it's just a different culture. Anyway, so the first few years I really struggled in league because I didn't understand banter. I didn't understand like that bloke that is, tearing you to shreds with banter.
Actually loves you.
He actually loves you.
And the harder he goes, the more he likes you.
I didn't know that. In soccer, it's just not a thing. Maybe it's changed, but when I was coming through, it wasn't. And so when I came in, like, I wasn't sitting there going, I just kept saying to myself, if I just keep being as nice as possible, eventually they're going to like me. Yeah. That's what I kept saying. Yeah. And bizarrely, like, even though I was, nice and they were courteous to me in regards to, they had respect for me or whatever, I never got pulled into that inner circle because there was this war between us. And it clearly was of my own making because I just didn't know how to cross that chasm. I didn't know how to do it. Anyway, so I got to a point where I just started to realize, like, I went to the Warriors, and I came back to the Broncos, and I was like, you know what? Stuff it. Like, I'm just going to talk shit. I'm going to spray blokes. I'm just going to go head first into the banter. It got so bad that, so we used to have this thing called Keith of the Week. And honestly, without this, I don't think I would have gone on to do a podcast. So it's Keith of the Week. So basically what it is like, everyone listening that knows footy players, they're rotten. They talk, I play for the Broncos. They pretend they don't. But when they're out, everyone knows a girl that has met a footy player that says I play for. So let's just get that out there. Yeah. And so what would happen for Keith of the Week, on a Monday video session, you would go, all right, boys, Keith of the Week, anyone got any stories? And then the boys would start dobbing each other in. Like, I heard X-player, he was layering up saying he scored 3 tries to a chick, and the boys would be like, you fucking rotten Keith, just spray the fuck out of him. Then someone else would be like, I saw a dude rock up to one of the boys rocked up to the club in his polo, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so it got to the point though where it was getting so ruthless that people stopped dobbing each other in because they didn't want to get dobbed in themselves. So it was like a cold war between the boys. Like it was just like no one wanted to be the first one to go because everyone had nukes ready to fucking launch. Anyway, so it got to the point where people were like, because I had got it a few times, but like when I was being rotten, it was for the boy, like it was to G the boys up, but they would pretend that it was serious. Anyway, so I got it a few times. I got to the point where like no one was saying anything, and they'd be like, "Kempy, fucking, we know you're rotten. We know you're rotten. Say what you did on the weekend." And so I would literally stand up and just make a story up and get Keith of the Week, and they loved it. And it became a ritual every week. No one would get Keith of the Week. I'd just stand up and, I'd do things like, you boys were out playing in Suncorp Stadium, mate. I had 3 cheerleaders in the back. Like, it was the best. Like, you were out playing, town yourselves up. All the cheerleaders want me. You're bums. Like, just all that kind of, just carry on. Obviously, all not true. And that opened my eyes up to be like, this is how I get them to see who I am as a person.
Yeah.
And then, so that was the first time. And then obviously the second time was like, I was, more front facing. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put myself out there. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And it just, for some reason, again, it still feels like I can't believe people enjoy it that much, but it just works. It just somehow works.
Dude, it's cool too that you can, because there's no longevity in not being yourself, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And dude, like just to be in the traditional media or to, work for a news station or like, dude, can you imagine how like the anxiety that you'd feel about
getting anxiety thinking about it,
bro? Like you get to do whatever the fuck you want, but there's no like longevity in being somebody else. And like you could do the interviews and keep a button down, and I agree with you. Like even now, I still think it's all about the guest. Like it's their show, it's their experience. It's for us anyway. It's like we have guys come on that they don't tell this stuff that they talk to me about it to the normal media. And it's probably the same for you. And then to me, I'm like, okay, well that's a fair responsibility.
Oh,
like
massive,
you've got to do this guy, like the guy today, dude, like broken back, paralyzed on the side of the track as a 20-year-old kid. Dad had the issues that he had, and you get dropped from teams, you're making no money, he goes to work a construction job, he comes back to have like a whole second career, ends up winning a championship at 30 in the lights class.
Spoiler alert right now.
Yeah, if you don't know. But like wins that, gets this contract, gets the biggest deal in, like he was like Fox head to toe. So it's like, I'm a fucking bum.
Compared to this
you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So like you flip the script. So it's like, to me, it feels like a responsibility, and it feels like I think that culture is something that this actually stems from like me playing footy as a kid. Like I was around.
What position did you play?
I was like hooker half.
Oh really?
Yeah,
a little hooker battler.
Yeah, back in the day.
Hey, I'll tell you, a few fans that don't listen to footy, hooker's the toughest spot on the field.
Well, I played hooker because I had to play upper grade one year.
Oh really?
So I was like the kid that was in the scrum that had like the legs dangling and shit like that. Yeah.
Wow. Well, for your listeners, that's one tough form, bro.
That's old footy boy. But that was one of the things, like, so dude, it's crazy. Like my dad was actually super high up in footy up north. I grew up in Cairns.
Oh, okay.
And so for years, man, I was like around the brothers A grade team while Brad Arthur was coaching, player coach.
Way.
Yeah. So my dad was the trainer for his A grade team before he went to the Storm to be the assistant coach and then to para. But yeah, so dad, like when I was a kid, like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, I was like around that squad, and they were like winning every comp or whatever. But culture, like he always would talk about culture. And then my dad would talk about like footy culture, and to understand like the impact of culture and the importance of culture within like a sport or a community. So I think like I have that feeling of responsibility when there's somebody across from me that's like literally bled for the sport. They've put their life on the line on multiple occasions. And, like I feel like by telling their story or letting them tell their story properly, it like adds to the culture. And yeah, so it's like there is a big responsibility there. But the thing is like if you can't have the freedom to be yourself, and if you can't, like it's got to be an enjoyable process as well. Otherwise, you can't do it for long enough for it to have the cultural impact that you want it to have.
For sure. And you're totally right, because so I kept that show where I interview people and footy players and that, and I created another show where it was me talking about footy. And so that gave me both outlets where, I could really just sit back and do exactly what you said. I'm just here as a springboard for your story. Like, however I can create an environment that gets your story out there as good as possible, I'll do that. Whereas the review and preview shows that we started and all the content of me like reacting to footy players playing footy and that, that was where I could express myself and be myself and everything. And so you're right. Like when it's an interview with a guest, you have to make it about them. Like it has to be a lot of, sometimes I listen to podcasts, they may be new or whatever, and the host will be like, you can tell the host is waiting to say what they want to say instead of really listening, like what is he actually saying, and going with him down that route. So it's a lot, it takes a while to learn that skill set.
Yeah,
Because when I started, it was so bad, bro. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Looking at old videos, I cringe. So bad.
But if it was easy, there'd be a whole lot of people. Well, I guess there are a whole lot of people that are doing it. But in terms of like, you know, having longevity and turning it into a business as such too, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things I don't like talking about the hard work of a podcast because it feels like so condescending to the people that are actually working hard. Yeah. And that only comes from a place of I've, you know, worked in those jobs as tradesmen, all that kind of stuff. So when I talk about, oh, you know, it's so hard to do this or whatever, I sound like I'm, mate, shut up. Like, oh, how hard is it? Like, so it's really hard to go into it. But there is a skill set. Like you need to be able to meet someone for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And make them feel like they're sitting across from one of their best mates.
Dude, that's such a great way to say it.
Yeah. And it's not easy. It's not easy. Like little things that, you know, I learn over I'm not as obvious with this, but like I'll mimic what they're saying. So if they're a person that says bruh a lot, then I'll say bruh a lot. Yeah. Or if they say mate a lot and they're quite buttoned up, I'll be quite buttoned up. Yeah. You know, they may sit a certain way and you just mimic their kind of body language, the way they speak, the way they carry themselves. Like the way I speak to Cameron Smith is very different to the way I speak to Josh Addo-Carr because they're very different people. And although Josh Addo-Carr could absolutely speak to Cameron Smith, he's not going to be as comfortable like he's mates with Cameron Smith. But in an interview environment, if you didn't know Cameron Smith, it's sometimes that world is too far to bridge because the culture is so different. And so whenever I get different players on, I'm always aware of like the kind of person they are, you know, what culture they're from. And again, it's all about, and again, I say bruh, for sure. I say mate as well. So it's not like I'm pretending to be something I'm not.
But you're just adapting to make them feel
comfortable. Yeah. Whereas, you know, if you're too buttoned up, for example, if you've got a young lad that grew up in a tough area, but he's deep culture as you can get. You know,
he's from the area.
He's from the area. You know, he may, if I start speaking, like sitting up really straight and speaking to him and, you know, speaking in a language that just doesn't really resonate with him, he'll do the interview. But I don't think he's ever going to get to that point where he's like, I'm with my people here or I'm with a person that gets me. Yeah. And I think that's the challenge of an interview.
How do you feel about... I think this is something that people don't understand. I don't know, maybe it's just a way that I think about it, but I think that you've got to show a level of vulnerability as well to a guest to make them feel okay with like having a level of vulnerability. And I think there's sometimes I'll look at a podcast or there'll be, you know, maybe people that are newer to it where they don't want to show that side of themselves. But I think that really good content or really good interviews are when you've got someone on the other side that's like able to be as vulnerable or share like their own. If someone's talking about their own insecurities, then share some of your own as well. So it's like you're actually making them feel. It's like you're guiding the level at which they can go in a sense, and that's like that could be like uncomfortable as a host because you've kind of got to dig into your own stuff too.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like there's been plenty of times where, you know, a player might be talking about the time he got dropped and, you know, how rattled he was. And, you know, you got to pick your moment. Sometimes you don't need to jump in and say anything. Sometimes you can see that he's struggling a little bit. And so you just go, yeah, man, like, you know, I remember when I got dropped, I was absolutely devastated. I sat in the car and I didn't move anywhere for a few hours. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's just like me. Like, it's okay to feel like that, especially with men, you know, like we're just so, like, I do think there's a huge benefit as men to be able to control your emotions. That's what I think masculinity is about, is controlling emotions. Doesn't mean not feeling them. Yeah. It means controlling them. But I do also think we could improve a little bit on being able to go, you know what, like I didn't, like, and again, this is coming from a person that still struggles to, like, even little things like I've got a business and, you know, let's say I was going to raise capital and because we want to grow. That makes me feel like, oh, I'm asking for help. Like, fuck that. Fuck that. You know what I'm saying? Which is stupid. It's stupid. But that's how deeply ingrained, I guess it is in a lot of men of like, don't ask for help. You find out what you got to do and you get it done, which is a good trait to have. It is a good trait to have. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But making blokes feel comfortable of like, I was vulnerable here and I was down and out. And it's key, I reckon. I totally agree, bro. Totally agree.
Do you think that podcasting has kind of helped the male in general.
Massively.
Like, I don't think there's probably ever been a time where men have been able to talk and have like open conversations as they have been in the last like 5-6 years since the medium's really blown up.
For sure. I think it's like the tough conversations. Like, I always feel like men did have the tough conversations, but it was almost a secret. You know, you remember that time we're on the beers. Remember that's 3 a.m.
I was going to say it's always kick-ons, bro.
It's always kick-ons.
Comes out of kick-ons.
And it comes out.
Yeah.
And and you speak about it, and your mate cares, and you open up, and there's no awkwardness at all.
Yeah.
But it's almost like we spoke about it. It's done now. Whereas I think podcasting has really opened. You're right. Like opened up. Like you can just chat, just yarn, like about whatever you want, and it's okay to yarn about whatever you want. It's hard because I feel like sometimes when you go down this route, you go down the route of like, oh, you need to constantly speak about your emotions. And look, don't take my advice on this, guys. Like, everyone's different. This is just my personal opinion. I do think some people need to toughen up. Like, some people just need to harden up and stop using the excuse of like, oh, woe is me. But also, I do agree that, some people probably do need to have a chat to someone and whatever. So it's that weird... The truth's always somewhere in the middle, Like, we're getting pushed this whole narrative of like, oh, you've got to be crying all the time about stuff, and it's okay to cry. It's like, bruh, like,
Is it
really? Like, do it in private or something, like, or do it. Don't do it on the internet. How about that? Go to your family, go to people you love, and have you cry.
See a fucking therapist, bro.
Just like on the internet and shit. So like, that's in my opinion. Again, I could be totally wrong. I'm 35. I'm probably past that generation that accepts that stuff now. So I'm happy to say that I'm wrong. There's got to be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
There's got to be somewhere in the middle where you go, yeah, it's okay to show your emotions, but do it around loved ones, and not emotions, but let's say you're breaking down and you've had a terrible day and whatever. I think guiding people to the right places is much more useful than just crying on the internet, on this pub, you know what I mean? Like just telling people to cry or telling people to have breakdowns. It's like, well, where's the good in that? Yeah. Let's direct people to the right places that I'm not saying that you click your fingers and it happens. Yeah. I'm just saying that like maybe some direction is a bit needed in that conversation. But back to the podcast, that's what I think is so good, is because it isn't mainstream in the sense of it's not owned by, it's not owned by somebody. It's not owned by someone. So it's given men an opportunity to talk how they want to talk about things that they want to be talking about without being told, well, hang on a sec, this is the narrative that needs to be pushed now, so you're not allowed to talk about. I think if you ever wanted to look at like an example of the shift in culture, and whether you like Joe Rogan or you don't like Joe Rogan, like there's anyone that could reasonably... Even if you don't like Joe Rogan, you can't reasonably sit there and say a lot of the stuff he teaches is good. Like, you can totally agree with his politics or whatever you think he has. Like, there's so many different opinions around it. But you can't tell me that him openly talking about some of the stuff he talks about hasn't helped a lot of young men around the world. Like, come on. Like, then you become the problem. If you're going to alienate, you know what I mean? If you can't look past your own dislike of someone and realize the value that they're bringing, you're the problem. Yeah. Dude, the Rogan effect was crazy. I mean, there was like a... And I disagree with a lot of Joe Rogan's stuff. Yeah. But I still appreciate the shit out of him, Yeah, and what you see there, it's funny. I was watching last night, it come up on a next play of a video. And then it was him and Louis Theroux. Oh, and they were talking about Scientology. It was a great episode. And seeing that probably like 38, 39 or 40 something, like early 40 version of him. It'd have to be early 40s. That's just a guy that was like trying to figure his life out, and he was like making some good money, and he was like kind of famous in the world that he was in, and he had like, he wasn't globally famous in like the way that he was now, but it's just like, there's just that's the first time, it was like a Truman Show of like watching a guy's thought process develop and evolve. And like you said, agree with him or not. Like dude, I mean, I think I started watching Rogan in like 2013. Yeah, it's not like 2012, man. Yeah, me too. Around that area. Like, and like, if you've watched him for any long period of time, as I said, like I think that he's probably 10 years now. Yeah, 10 years from when we're talking about. And like, so he's probably moved a little bit further away from where I am personally on certain topics. I agree. But how you can't look at him and just say, as you said, he's just a bloke
Yeah.
finding his way. There's
Yeah.
no mean intent. There's no malice in his heart. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%.
Like he's just a bloke trying to find his way. And so I would imagine if you could do research and find out how many young men
It's out of control.
would honestly say he made me go and speak to my mate about this, or I saw Rogan shedding a tear of happiness for his mate, and it made me reach out to mine. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
mate, it'd probably be millions,
Bro, think about the DMs you've got.
and then times that by a gazillion.
A jillion,
Yeah.
like a gigafuck ton.
Yeah.
Like to the point where he couldn't even acknowledge what he's got. Like it's such a crazy influence. And the other thing that I found that I guess I didn't, because you don't like go into this thinking like in 5 years I'd be doing this combo in this room, and you just don't, you can't like predict that. But I would have never understood. Well, I guess the reasons why I think this industry and what we do is like a good and important job is that, like, essentially what I do, or the way I look at it, and it's very similar for you. Like, these people that you talk to and I talk to are somebody's hero.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately their hero.
Yeah.
There's never in a million years a chance I'll get to talk to that person for 3 hours.
Absolutely. It's such a good point.
And it's like we're lacking, like, the males that you would have had in your life. Like, you were just telling me a story about your dad. Like, what a fucking G.
Yeah.
Like, that's a mentor. Like, that's a peak level dude that is like worthy to look up to.
Yep.
And you literally talk to me about him for like 2 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, amazing role model, amazing mentor. What I've learned in doing this is that there's a lot of blokes out there that don't have that in their life.
Absolutely.
They have fucking dog shit mates.
Yeah.
They have dog shit misses. And they have, like, their dad was a dickhead.
Yep.
You know, and they're going through life, and they got a job, and they got a wife, and they got a fucking but they don't have any mentors that are like that. And, you know, they've got these people that they watch on the weekend, or they've got, for me, it's like a guy like Christian Craig that would, you know, race Supercross, and they're looking up to him, but they don't have mentors in their life. They've just got heroes. And I think that, like, what you do is, like, you bridge the gap from hero to mentor.
Yeah, it's a good
and
point.
you can actually, like, provide these people. It's almost like this, you know, mentorship program with these guys. And it's like, they've probably heard the same shit a million times from, you know, like, self-help this or whatever, but hearing it come from, like, a Josh Adokar or a Cameron Smith, it's just, it hits different. And like to be the kind of guy that can, like, bring mentors to people. And that's sort of what I you know, you look at, like, Rogan as well. You know, there's so many people that he's brought on, and you just give him the opportunity to, like, be a mentor for a person. And then, like, in a sense, he ends up being, like, a mentor for those people.
Think about the impact Joe Rogan had. He made looking into science and stuff cool.
Yeah.
Like, at school for me, it was like, yeah, okay, if we had a good teacher, it would be great because he'd really get you involved, or she'd really get you involved. But most of the time, it's like, science is for people in lab coats. Like, I don't know what that is. I don't care.
Yeah.
He made it, like, interesting to sit there for 3 hours and hear Graham Hancock and Randall Carson talk about the Osteostrias fucking whatever 12,000 years ago. All right, I don't know what it is. Egypt was a lost civilization, whatever it is. Whether you believe it or not, like whether you say it's pseudoscience or whatever. And I'm not going to get into the more other stuff. I'm just talking specifically about archaeology and stuff like that. It is still introducing young people to discovering and exploring science, like looking into, like, tell me the amount of men and women, including myself, after I listened to that first Graham Hancock, isn't it? Graham, and Randall Carson. Yeah. Like, I started Googling Göbekli Temple, whatever the fuck, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm down a rabbit hole looking at these monuments from thousands of years ago. Yeah. I never would have even considered it because I was an athlete, and that's all I gave a shit about at the time. Yeah. And he did that. Yeah. He did that.
And I think the message of, like, accountability and, you know, like, there's so much, any sort of, I would imagine, like, if I ever got to have a conversation with him, I would imagine that it would be the same thing. It was like, yeah, life was going good and I was, like, doing all right, but then I started this podcast and it just made me live out, because we've all got this character in our head. that's like our ideal self. Like you lived up to it today when you went for a run. You know, like that. There's an easy world. Like there's a world where
second run, but just
second run.
Yeah, it was my second run, but whatever.
Fucking athlete.
Hey, no. Hey, I want to be clear. I'm in the psychotic addicted phase.
That will only last maybe 3 or 4 more weeks.
Once I'm in it, it takes a long time to get out of it.
Okay.
But there was a period where I was in my sloppy mess phase. So I just don't want to claim psychotic athlete at all times. You know what I mean? Because I wish I could claim that, but I don't have it in me. There are periods where I get the Ben & Jerry's and I go a bit crazy. What's your flavour Ben & Jerry's?
Oh.
Well, you're not a Ben & Jerry's operator.
Not.
Are you not an ice cream man?
I'm just not. Just dairy for me, bro.
Oh, you're not a dairy man?
Yeah.
Like it's like a kryptonite for me because I always get phlegmy after dairy.
Same, bro.
But I do it anyway. I fucking don't give a fuck. Fucking who cares, cunt? I want to fucking eat that ice cream, bro. It's so good.
Dude, when my chick moved here, I'm like right in Burleigh, so you just walk it's cool
best.
to live.
Literally heaven on earth.
It's insane.
Coast, yeah.
And so she's moved here, and then Ben & Jerry's right there, bro. For like 3 months, I ate so much fucking Ben & Jerry's.
Oh, really?
Dude,
okay,
and like just getting stoned and just eating fucking bulk ice. I was just like, bro, you're a piece of shit. You're actually
a piece of shit.
You're actually a piece of shit.
Well, that's where I was. I mean, I was in the piece of shit phase. And so I went to Europe for about 7 weeks.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing that.
It was like I can try to tell you the impact going to Europe or around the places in the world. I can try and tell you that. But until you go there and you realise how insignificant and small Australia is and how much history there is out there, how big the world is. And
was it your first time really travelling?
Yeah. And so,
sick.
Like, the thing is, I knew that the world is big. I'm not so stupid to be like, Australia's the middle of the world.
Yeah, but it's also, the universe is big, but you don't. Like, what does it mean?
Sweet. It might exist if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to see it. Did it happen? Anyway, so we went over there for 6-7 weeks, and it was absolutely incredible. It was like a honeymoon.
What countries?
So we went to Spain, or went to Dubai, stopped off in Dubai, Spain, Italy, France, Switzerland, Amsterdam. But yeah, we travelled all through.
Do any weird shit in Amsterdam?
No, we didn't actually.
Fuck.
Yeah, I know. So I thought that when I'd get there, that I would be let's fucking
G'd up.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Let's get fucking weird. But when I got there, the vibe just wasn't right. The vibe's got to be right for me. And so I was in a love vibe because I was with the wife.
Yeah.
And it was a honeymoon.
And she's not loose like that.
She's not, I mean, we'll have fun. Like we've had fun before with stuff like that. But we were just in a love vibe.
It's a love bubble.
It was a love bubble. That's what it was.
I love.
I fucking absolutely love love. There's no bloke that loves love more than me. And so, yeah, we were just in this love vibe. I don't know. And we had, I think, 3 or 4 days there. There was just so much to see. We didn't want to be hungover. And we were like, you know what? Like, okay, yeah, the raves and that are mad here. But, like, I want to see, like, Aunt Frank's house. I want to see the beautiful, like, there's so much to see.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we didn't get loose. But
where else did you go?
So we went to Dubai, Madrid.
Yeah.
We went to San Sebastian.
Yeah.
Went to Barcelona.
Yeah.
Then we went to Rome, but Rome, our flights got cancelled. We were only there for a night when we should have been there 3 nights, so I didn't get to see it.
Oh.
It was the one place I wanted to see, so devastated.
Yeah, it's wild. You got to go back there.
I know. And we went from Rome to Positano.
Dude, how good is Posy?
Bruh.
That place is fucked up.
That's fucked. It's fucked. Like, it's not good, it's fucked.
Yeah,
like, when you go there and you actually see it, you go, this is fucked. Like,
proper.
Like, there should be a rating, like, how many fucked 5s out of stars? Because it's on its own.
It's like 1 to 5 and then fucked.
Just completely fucked off its head. And you go out to, like, Capri, the islands, the Amalfi Coast.
Yeah.
And so we went there, and you know what? I think that's what got us in the
love bug stage.
Yeah, it really got us in the slip zone. You know, like the slipstream. We got in the slipstream of love, and Positano put us in there.
Oh,
mate.
Dude, take me back.
Oh my god.
So I got one of my best mates. He was my business partner in America, and they did really well for themselves. They got married in Positano. Well, I guess it was Amalfi, like that.
Yeah, that whole area. Yeah.
But so we stayed in Positano, and we were on this insane.
Yeah.
just
fucked.
It was fucked.
Like when you
Six
when they're
story,
they're like, what star hotel do you want to stay at? You click the fuck star.
Yeah, no, there's not even the star on there. You have to call them and be like, oi,
I want to get fucked.
I want to get fucked. You need to fuck me right now.
Fuck
Here's
my wallet
credit
and
card. Fuck me up. But dude, it was the full. I don't even know how they built it. I don't even know how they built it.
Yeah, it's
you don't get a car there. You
Mate,
can't how the fuck do you get there?
The regulation bloke would have a heart attack walking there.
Oh, OH&S.
He'd get really fucked. They'd hold him down and fuck him and get out of here, you dog.
Dude, it was next level. We did like the boat thing, circled Capri, did the lunch in Capri. We went to this place. This was actually like the highlight of the trip. We were staying on the water, and so you couldn't drive anywhere by a car. You'd have to get a boat. So we just have like a little tender.
Yeah.
And we just crammed all of us in this tender. We were staying at this place for like 6 nights. We crammed all of us into this tender. And there was this one restaurant that we went to. It was in between. So like if you're on Positano and you're on the beach, it's left.
Okay. Yep,
So and it was in this cove next to Positano, and there was one restaurant.
Oh, I think, and you can walk there, like you walk up around
You could walk and like go down, but so we were getting the boat there, and we went there two nights in a row, and we just got fucking blind. Like it was amazing. Some of the best food that I've ever had in my life.
The pasta there is fucking outrageous.
It's fucked.
Yeah, it's fucked.
It's fucked. But
Fanguro.
dude, it was gnarly. But yeah, every night blind off limoncello, and then back there. That's just a crazy part of the world. And you think about like hustle culture and making shit happen and getting it done. And then there's that dude. He said his granddad built that place.
Yeah.
By hand, carrying, like he cut steps into the hill.
Yeah.
And carried the shit down to make like a house and a restaurant. And he just lived there. And then people would come. Dude,
and
it's
now
a great
squillions.
Oh, like how would you even?
Yeah, like how could you put a price on property there? Like it's A, there's no room for more property, so there's a limited amount, and B, it is. Yeah, if you can, like, one thing I say now, and I know I just went to Europe, but like if you can find a way to save up.
You just had your hot girl summer.
I had a hot girl summer, all right.
So
yeah,
good.
it's so I fucking came back hot as anything. Hot as anything. Actually, no, I didn't. I came out sloppy as. Oh my god! By the end of it, bro, like had like my chin. I was like kept looking in the mirror. You know when you just look in the mirror and go, "That's disgusting." Cunt. Like, fuck, you are disgusting. Sometimes I look like, cause, like I think my missus is way too hot for me.
She is.
Yeah,
fair, which is good.
I'm proud of you. I'm fucking any bloke should be punching up.
Yeah, I agree.
And sometimes I look in the mirror, I'm like, how the fuck is she attracted to you? Because you're fucked. You are fucked. Like, how does it happen? Like women's, I guess it's just weird. You know,
they just like different shit.
They must like ugly dudes. I reckon that's the new thing coming in.
Chicks just have to. Chicks are emotional.
I always say this. I don't want to like. Look, this is just my personal opinion, but I always feel that men's sexuality is physical, women's sexuality is emotional.
100%.
That's what I think. Because how many girls meet guys and they're like, yeah, whatever, and they're not interested, and then the guy might be funny, or that or he might have just good conversation, and all of a sudden that guy that you were not even whatever is like really attractive to you.
Yeah.
And so whereas like men, it's a very physical thing. Like it's like you can see a girl, I'm attracted to her.
Yeah.
And I like as a guy that, I'm fucking not a glamour or anything like that. As soon as I realized that, I realized like, fuck, I'll have a crack at any chick. Yeah, I'll have a crack. She could 11 out of 10. Because it really is emotional. Me personally, like I don't want to speak for women, but in my experience,
I think that every chick calls it their hoe phase. Like chicks will admit that they've had a hoe phase.
Yep.
And then, but once the chicks are done with the hoe phase,
gotta get out of your system.
Fucking
get it out of your system.
Get it, girl. Get it, girl.
Learn what you need to learn. Live your life, baby. Hot girl summer.
And hopefully, I've been that guy for some women. Like, hopefully, through their hoe phase.
No, you made them go back into church phase.
It's happened a couple times, dude.
I said I'm never going out on the market again. Fuck me,
dude. I had like 2 chicks that I was like in serious, like semi-serious relationships with, and I was like their good luck chuck. Like the next dude,
no
dude,
way.
Like I'm talking like 2 chicks, maybe 3. And they were just like, No, three, straight up three. I
my
literally
God.
remember. Yeah.
So you heal them. You're a healer.
Yeah, I am a healer.
Yeah, you're a
It
healer.
was like so bad, obviously.
Oh my God.
You either had to do something real right or something real wrong. Well, you couldn't have done something right, like by definition, I guess.
As in to
But
be a
no,
healer?
I wouldn't have worried. I wouldn't have wanted to marry them though.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
So were you a fuckboy? Maybe you're a fuckboy.
I was a fuckboy.
Oh,
for
really?
Sure. Yeah.
I've never been a fuckboy.
Oh, dude, I just 20s in America with the Aussie accent.
Like, do you? So, what's your My definition of fuckboy is saying things that aren't true.
Oh no, I was never really a fuckboy
Okay.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, well then I was. I'm your definition of fuckboy in the sense of like having fun.
Yeah, I was like a lover boy. Like I would like. Oh, that's actually tainted that term.
Yeah,
now.
don't say
We
that.
can't
Holy
turn-
shit, you're ready to get cancelled, bro.
I can't do
You're ready
that.
to get fucking raided.
Yeah,
Yeah. Jesus
straight up, bro.
Christ.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, you'll be in Romania and fucking.
yeah. But I was like, I was fully down to just fall in love with a chick for one night, and like we were.
Okay.
You know, that's my definition.
Yeah,
of it.
like almost like you're a romantic, but like almost like a 7-Eleven romantic.
I'm like a tour bus romantic.
Yeah,
You know what I
okay,
mean?
yeah.
So, because we'd go to every Supercross. So, we're in like a different city every
Yeah.
single weekend. So, we'd be in like New York one weekend, San Diego one weekend, Atlanta.
Yeah.
There's parties, you know.
Actually, I got something to ask you.
Yeah.
How does motocross attract such good-looking women? Like, it's just the ratio is off its head.
It's pretty fucked.
It's fucked.
Go to, do you know what I'm about to ask you to do? Just do whatever you think I'm about to ask you to do. Nah.
But like,
Come on, you got me. Go to Austin Faulkner's Instagram.
because like, what do you think about it? Like, okay, you're right around in helmets, so they can't even see your head when you're on TV anyway.
Yeah.
And like, it's a very specialized. It's not easy to get into motocross. Like in the sense of like, you don't go down to your local, join your motocross team, and then like you play footy or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas like, the amount of hot chicks that are just love motorbikes is fucking
I don't get it. Look at this dude and look at this chick.
holy shit.
They've been together for years.
That's Mike Tyson.
They're both very like, dude. Sorry, Austin. You know I love you, mate. But like, are you fucking kidding me?
Austin, are you Dave Chappelle? Are you that funny that you got her? Because sorry, bruh.
It's
And this is coming from a bloke that's uglier than you. So I'm not talking down to no one, but
I'm not throwing shade,
I'm not
but
throwing
this is
shade, but
exceptional.
this is out of its world.
And you can just go on like every dude in motocross and just that it's fucking absurd, bro.
Is it the motorbike thing? Again, this is a guy that has no idea about it. All I
actually don't know.
is beautiful women love extreme sports.
Yeah, and car, dude. Like you go to the Formula One,
Yeah.
like, dude, golf as well.
Yeah.
Psycho. Like there's a tournament called the Phoenix Waste Management Open,
Waste management.
and it is
Hey, get the
in
cash out you can.
dude, Scottsdale, Arizona. Scottsdale, America has like party towns.
Wow.
Yeah. So like,
And as an Aussie, you're just cruising through there.
bro, it was fucked up. Like
Oh
it was
my
like fucked. All right.
Can we
So
take this down?
yeah, like,
I almost
get
feel
rid
bad
of it.
looking at
Yeah,
missus.
yeah.
Sorry, bro. I would never.
so shout out to Austin and Riley. He just had a real bad
Shout out
crash
to
the other day.
Austin. I mean, well, he's going to be taken care of. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You
He's
don't
like
have to-
doing both wrist breaks. Like so, he's got to
He's
have
like,
the
man,
fucking.
my life's so shit, and his glamour missus is like, it's okay, baby. Oh, my
I
life's
got
so
you,
fine."
What was that? Oh yeah, we're at the Waste Management Open in Phoenix, and it's like literally a party town. So there's like colleges in America where it's like that's the college you go to party.
Yeah.
So like this is where like Rob Gronkowski went to college.
The Gronk.
Yeah. So he's literally going like, I could go anywhere in the world. I'm going to Scottsdale to fucking party balls because I'm 6'8", I'm a fucking athlete, and I'm playing in the NFL.
Wow.
No matter what GPA I get.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm going to go and get my fuck on in Scottsdale.
Holy.
But like, dude, you would walk around the Waste Management
Mm.
Open and it is just like Melbourne Cup times America.
Really?
And then you go out and there's like casinos and there's just like fucking clubs everywhere and the ratios are out of control. And then you go to like Athens, Georgia is another place. Like we've been tailgating for college football games and like it's just, it's fishing with dynamite. Like then there was some times where like you'd go to New York and I'd be with a buddy who's like married, you know,
How
like
did you,
so
like-
solid.
How did you like be able to tour like that? And this is just, you know, maybe you were riding at the time. Were you riding at the
No,
time?
I was filming.
Okay.
So I start my whole career. I was actually like a filmmaker.
Okay.
So I bought a camera when I was like 20. I just like maxed out a credit card to buy a camera and a tripod. I still have the tripod actually. This was in like 07. And then I started filming. I created like a website called MX Daily back in the day. Yeah. And it was like the first blog in Australia for moto. And then I made videos. I just literally copied what like the people in America did. That I looked at their content and then I was like, this is going to be fucking huge. Like this will happen here. Yeah. And so then I just bought a camera, taught myself how to film, edited. Talk about luck. I was just like good at filming. Yeah. Okay. Like I just
had an eye for it.
I just started doing it and I was as good as people that had been doing it. So then I started getting jobs and then I got invited to go to America to film this big race. It's like, they call it Motocross the Nation. So it's like all the different countries come together. It's a 3-man team in your race. Yep. So I went there because I'd spent all year filming the Australian team. So they were like, can you bring all the footage that we can use for the pre-shows and everything and like that? And then you film the event. Yeah. And I just like literally didn't leave. So after that.
Like, it's almost like touring with a band.
It was, man.
You know?
Yeah.
And you got to do that.
Yeah. It was like, and I had...
And when you think about it, like, so, like, let's say you're a dirt bike rider. You've, like, worked your... And you... Not saying you didn't work hard, but, like, they worked their whole fucking lives.
And had talent.
Whereas, like, you just picked up a passion, a hobby, and you worked hard, obviously. I'm not taking it away from you. But tour with a band... You don't have any scrapes, no bruises, don't feel tired. You can party as much as you want.
Dude, yeah, late to every single flight, blind every single night. Like, then when all the riders went home, all these hot girls were left without a fucking... It was like musical chairs, you know? And I'm like the only dude to sit on.
And you could have been Insta boyfriend too, because you were like, oh, you need some...
I need some content.
You need some content?
I'm the guy.
Plenty of fucking content for you.
But yeah, so it was like, that was a crazy time too.
What an incredible opportunity in the sense of like to have experienced what you've experienced. When most people, they leave school, they go to uni or whatever, they go into a job, like you got to party with people like rock stars to a degree. Like that's like,
and I was just like,
lucky.
I was young too. So I was like the same age as a lot of these guys. And a lot of the people that were doing my job were like older.
Oh, how good!
So that was, it was just again luck. Yeah. Like it's all luck. Like to just slot in at that time.
Were you their energy guy? Like in the sense of like they almost peer pressured you into getting loose all the time because like...
Oh, dude, it was so funny. Like there were guys that would literally... So like a friend of mine, he's like married, like super solid with his wife. Like he's a gun. And bro, I was his toy. Like, and it'd be like, right, that's the girl right there. He'd just literally pick like any chick in the club. And it was just like, it was a fun thing of like, can you go? And but yeah, I'd say to him, I'm like, I'm here for one night. Like I ain't coming back. Yep. Maybe next year. That's not enough for anything to go further than tonight. Yep. So we can either just, let's enjoy every bit of this.
Yeah, the good old enjoy every bit of it.
Let's milk this for what we've got because you're beautiful and I'm here for it. Like I'm down to fall in love tonight, baby. Like if you want to fall in love, we can fall in love.
And when it happens, we can pretend like it never happened. Yeah. Because you never have to say anyone you're hooked up with the Australian because you'll never see me again.
Yeah. Oh, dude. So yeah, it was literally just that for a long time.
Like if you had said when you were younger, like you're going to be able to tour almost like a band tour around America like that and see the things that you've seen. So lucky.
Yeah, no, it was cool. And like, yeah, like I said, just I didn't have the talent. So like, I feel sorry for the boys that had the talent, did the work, went to the races.
It's like the one guy that like missed out going over there. He's like worked his whole life and he like misses the Australian team by one person. And then he sees you getting on the fucking plane going, yeah, fuck yeah, boys.
Oh, dude. And
I worked my whole life for this shit.
Dude. And I look back to like the person I was and I'm just like, fuck, you were a dickhead, bro. Like, oh, I so badly wish you weren't that guy. But it was the craziest apprenticeship for like this job. That's the thing. So I ended up not to make this my fucking biography.
No,
but
fuck.
I ended up I had some like crazy health issues. I had a visa, like a working visa, and then I was like applying for a new one. You're not supposed to leave the country, and like so there was some shit that kind of went down, and I just went from like living that life that we were just talking about to just like the rug getting pulled out from underneath me. Way. Shut down, you're done. And that was 5 years ago. So I literally just went from like living the dream.
Do you mind, me asking what your health issues that you had?
Oh, I didn't know this, but I was born with one kidney.
No way.
And the crew that I was like working in. So I started pretty much working like exclusively for Red Bull.
Yeah.
So we'd shoot like all their documentaries. Like I was literally just traveling around the world. I had this one camera that I was like pretty good at using, and not many other people use it. It was like a really crazy like slow motion camera.
Okay.
And so at the end, I literally was just getting like flown around the world to all these different events just to bring like one camera and shoot like, you just get these shots and then you hand it to the team. So I just literally got to kind of do my own thing. But then, so I was working with this crew, and we would do these big projects, and then we would go, they had a house in Lake Tahoe. And so whether it was summer, we'd be mountain biking, or if it was winter, we'd be snowboarding. So we'd like work like fuck for weeks, and then we'd fly back to Tahoe, and we'd do all the post-production in this house in Tahoe, but we'd snowboard or ride. And anyway, one day I'm just on the hill snowboarding and just have like this fucking huge one trying to avoid hitting an old lady in all pink helmet, gloves, jacket, fucking skis, now polished up like as California soccer mum as you could. And so I ended up fucking up my kidney, but I didn't know I only had one.
Well, you had a massive crash trying to avoid it.
Yeah. So I'm just like cartwheeling down the hill. And in the process, I've elbowed myself in the ribs and I've popped there's like a valve that connects your bladder and your kidney. And so I fucked that up.
God.
And I've only got one.
Holy.
No health insurance. No, dude, I like literally nearly died. And it was fucking hectic. And then we had the Waste Management Phoenix Open was scheduled in like 4 weeks. I was like, I ain't fucking leaving.
It's like your mecca.
Yeah, so I like waited to go to that event. We were doing some stuff with Ricky Fowler for Red Bull. And then I like pretty much waited. I was like on death's door, dude. Like there's photos of me. I'm like yellow. I can't believe it. I was throwing up every morning like I was on chemo. Like it was fucking hectic.
As in, so were you on medication then? Or you?
No, I had no idea.
So you just thought you were, oh man, I'm a bit sick.
I actually thought I got like a stomach virus.
Yeah.
Because I was throwing up so much. And like for 4 weeks, I ate fruit salad and drank Powerade. That's it. Because that's what tasted good when I threw up.
Yeah, okay.
Like that's how regularly I was throwing. It was gnarly, dude.
But man, what is wrong with blokes and seeing doctors?
Well, I didn't have health insurance over there.
Because it's so expensive.
I was so scared, dude.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, okay.
So then anyway, I ended up coming home, but it fucked up.
So you flew home sick?
Yeah.
So you cooked the whole way on the flight?
Oh, bro. They reckon, the doctor said, they're like, I can't believe you survived that flight.
Yeah,
my blood pressure was like 240 over 120 or like...
Were you pretty fit at that stage?
Not as fit as I am now, like because I was like partying and I wasn't really training. I wasn't doing jiu-jitsu at that point.
But were you active though? At least?
Yeah. I was super active.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was living with this crazy dude actually, and he had like this whole pharmacy cabinet with like every prescription drug and so he's like, dude, like you got to take a couple Xanax. Like,
my god.
So anyway, I ended up just fucking zonking myself out for literally the whole flight. Like I held like a sick bag and under my jacket, like just in case I threw up. I like smuggled myself back to Australia, and then I got home, went to the doctors. And then I sort of started like feeling all right. And I was like, fuck, maybe it was like a stomach thing.
Yeah.
Flew to Adelaide. My brother does sports management.
Oh my God, bro.
Dude, my brother does sports management for like, he does like Chaz Mostert and he does like the Red Bull V8 team and stuff. So this was like 5-6 years ago and maybe even more. So he's like kind of early in his business. And he was like, Jace, could you come shoot some content for me? So I was like, sweet, I'll get on a plane. I'll go. I landed there. I didn't have an Australian phone. I had nothing. I'd just come back. Yeah. And I get there. There's an ambulance waiting for me because I've gone and done these tests then flew to Adelaide just for the weekend. Yeah. And so I ended up being in Adelaide for like 2 weeks, crazy surgeries. Like I pretty much...
So what the doctor called and said, get the ambulance there ASAP.
Yeah.
No way.
And then I just like kind of fucking panicked, got in a taxi.
What?
And then just fucking... And then, I was in hospital in Adelaide for like 2 weeks. And
no way.
Yeah, it was hectic, dude. But so then I found out that I only have one kidney, which I was born with. But apparently 1 in 300 people are born with one kidney.
So were you like, oi, mum and dad, where's my kidney, bro?
Yeah, straight up. I was like, I fucking knew my brother was the favourite. And this proves it.
He's got 3 kidneys. Why has my brother got 3 kidneys for?
Yeah, and we've both got these scars. But yeah, so that ended up like a long way of saying that ended up like fully fucking up the whole America thing. So I went from like living that life to just the rug got pulled and I was just back with nothing to do.
Exactly. Like it's not like, let's say you were in Australia and all this was happening and then you stopped working but you were still in Australia. You wouldn't have experienced like the big shining lights of America. But to go from the fast pace of America, like 330 million people, all that kind of stuff, to the slow pace of Australia, it's almost like a double whammy.
Oh, yeah. It was, and I was 30. Oh, no, I was like probably 28, I think, at the time when I ended up coming home. And I had like no money. I had like a chick. I actually dumped the chick that I was with in Rome. Like,
even though she stuck with you through one kidney?
No, well, she kind of fucked me around through the one
really?
kidney. So then I was like, all right, you clip from the program. But yeah, so I'm like...
She probably fucking stole your kidney, bro.
Yeah, straight up. But yeah, so I was 28 with no money. I had like 2 cameras and then I ended up having these microphones. Like I was doing I was like kind of experimenting with the podcast thing. But it wasn't like a thing I was doing yet, you know, like I was kind of just figuring it out.
Yep.
But yeah, like it literally ended up being like the only thing I had going for me.
It's like really interesting that, you know, it seems like you have had nothing at that stage, and to a degree you had nothing.
Like on a material sense, I had nothing.
But at the same time, like your value is your skill set. So you actually had everything. It was just a matter of like, did you want to utilize it? Whereas like sometimes you can leave a job and you're like, what did I actually learn? Like what skill set do I have to go and generate revenue from? And like, it's really interesting that just from 2 cameras, you've essentially built all this. Yeah, and it all comes just off talent, like and hard work, obviously. And
it's just luck too, you know, and that like what you could call classically bad luck, like you know, like cartwheeling down
comedy of errors that brought you to this point.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, that I love, I guess, like telling that story, and that's one of like my biggest things, that if I can influence people in any way, is just like when you have something fucked up happen to you, just keep going, because if a dickhead like me can recover from those comedy of errors, you know, and you just don't know how that thing is going to play into the rest of your life, and the, you know, the kind of future that you can have off the back of seemingly terrible things in the moment.
For sure.
It would have felt like you with footy, like that you lost your career in footy, but then this is what comes off the back of it.
Oh, there's so many things. Like, maybe it's my own bias because I'm trying to look for glass half full, the positive and the negative, but to my understanding, all the best things in my life have happened after it feels like everything has fallen apart. You know, like even, you know, initially deciding to go from soccer to league, like, you know, the first year or 2 was really lonely because I didn't have really that much friends. Like, they were my mates in the sense we rocked up, we played together, they respected me. But I didn't really have a friend that, like, you know, me and him would hang out and do whatever in rugby league. And so obviously didn't have any outside of rugby league because that's all I did. So that was tough. But then I ended up getting to debut. And I even remember specifically, like, so like I'd been basically close to debuting for quite a while, ended up debuting, but there were still senior players that like didn't really speak to me because I just didn't really fit in that well.
Yeah.
But I still remember the night. It was like halfway through the season. I'd been playing first grade for a bit, playing really good footy. And Sean Berrigan pulled me aside. He's
hard
like
man.
He's a hard man. Great international, great player. If you don't follow footy, just a gun. Like played for Australia, played for Queensland. And he was just like, first of all, this is the first time I found out I was weird. But anyway, he goes, listen. And we're on the drink out, like we were talking about before. Blokes talking to each other on the drink. On the drink out, he goes, listen, we all think you're a bit of a weird cunt, but we respect you. And so, like, most people will be like, hang on a sec, what did you just say that first bit? But all I was like, is like, oh, my, like, it was such a moment for me. Like, all these boys respect, I've earned their respect. But yeah, it was also the first time I was like, I don't kind of feel like I'm weird. Like, that's fucked. But no, I remember the moment of like just finally fitting into that kind of environment. But I didn't even know where we were going with that. Where were we at?
Fucking good story though.
Yeah, well, fuck. Maybe I've just fucking taken us down there because I wanted to tell that story. I don't know.
I love the story though. I'm here for it. That whole like not fitting in and the senior players like it's funny. There's like a thing that I think happens that's just such like a natural pecking order, essentially.
Yeah.
Like when I go into the gym, like you see a new dude come through the door and you're just like, enjoy the 2 weeks, bros.
Yeah, you're getting tailed up.
We'll fucking see you never because you ain't coming back.
100%.
And you get those people, like, there would be people that you could tell that story to and be like, well, no, it's fucked that they didn't talk to you.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, well, wait a minute. There's that many people that are in this revolving door, and there's probably like 7 or 8 guys that are like solid and there for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And if you're on the outside of that group, like, it actually makes sense once you're in that environment how that can actually happen.
For sure. I think it's a rite of passage.
Yeah.
And I think that I do like the next generation has been given more opportunity, and it's more, I guess, egalitarian, where young people... I respect it. And, like, I came from a generation where you literally just didn't talk. You went and got coffees. They'd treat you like shit. Because, and it may sound like, I think to a lot of people, or maybe the younger generation or on the internet or whatever, if you told some of the stories, they'd be like, that's bullying.
Ruthless, yeah.
That's, abuse, and, you're going to be scarred for life. And look, I'm not speaking to other people's experience, so I'm not sitting there saying that doesn't happen at all.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking to my experience. And in my experience, it's about finding out, are you going to earn the right to put on this jersey that we all bled for?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people forget that that's just a piece of material.
Yeah.
What makes that piece of material special? It's the men and women that have come before you and sacrificed. The men and women for 25 years, at the start of the 25 years, a lot of them didn't get paid.
Yeah,
a lot of them did it for the love of it. They built up the recognition. Why you put that shirt on, you feel so proud. They built that literally with their blood and their sweat and their tears.
Yeah.
And so that's why I do think it's important. Now, I do understand that we have to give a little bit because the generation coming through now is different, and it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just different. Like, I'm not a hater, an old guy going, you should fucking tell every young guy up that comes in or whatever.
Yeah.
So we do have to give a little, but I also think there is a lot of value in saying, are you not... because you're a young, good player, you deserve this jersey. No, the other way around. Are you worthy of putting this jersey on? Or are you, in motocross, I'm sure are you worthy of...
riding for this team.
For this team, exactly. Yeah. We've got a reputation that's been built by people that have sacrificed way fucking more than you.
Yeah.
You're not entitled to anything. It's the guys that are willing to go through some bad stuff. And look, as I said, if you said on the internet what it was, people would lose their minds. But it teaches you to, like, appreciate what you do when you get there, but also you let everyone else know that jersey means more to me than even my own what I want.
Yeah,
so
it's bigger than
me.
The sum of its parts.
Exactly. So okay, I might be a bit sooky that you said my hair was shit and I fucking this, that, and the next thing. I'm a weirdo, like, or I'm a bum, and like there'd be little things like this is just the surface. Like, you'd walk in and Hodjo might be like, mate, fucking one call to the coach and you're fucking out of here. You're a bum. like just stuff like that. You're an 18-year-old wigging out going, holy moly. And so it was kind of just daily banter, kind of like that. And there would be worse stuff than that and less stuff than that. But again, you're proving to them. And at the time, I didn't even know it.
Yeah. It's not that. It's an old head mentality.
It's an old head mentality.
To know,
I just thought, holy shit! Like, what I didn't realize is if they aren't talking to you, that's
a
the
real
problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And so I think that we can be better at explaining that to the younger men and women that come through.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, it's a test. It's not that they don't like you. They just want to see whether you are worthy of... Because, like, when you think about it from their perspective as well, they went through it. So what?
What makes you different? Yeah.
What makes you better than them when they went through a harder time? We always soften as generation comes. And so I think that rite of passage is really, really important. Like, I really do. It shows that you are willing to put aside your own... Because, like, it's a team sport as well.
Yeah.
So you're willing to put aside your own personal feelings for the greater good. The greater good is that jersey. And that's how you win premierships. I was fortunate enough to be a part of the widest squad in 2006 when we won the premiership.
Yeah.
I didn't play in the actual team, but I was in the squad that trained every day and all that kind of stuff. And that was what it was about. It wasn't about the individual. And it's easy to say these words and people go, yeah, it's about the team.
Yeah.
But until you've been in a team environment and, there's a 110 kilo guy running at you and in your head that you're probably going to get knocked out. Will you put your head there?
Yeah.
If you're thinking about yourself, you won't.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about the team, you will.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say, yeah, I'd do it. But would you do it, bro?
Yeah.
Would you do it?
No. Me personally? No.
That's why I'm not in the footy team. And so that rite of passage, it even like army camps we used to go on.
Yeah, dude.
It was all about breaking us and seeing who, and you would be shocked. Have you ever been on like an SAS camp or anything like that?
I filmed a commercial for the US Army.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, when I was in the US.
Fuck.
And dude, it was fucking hectic.
Yeah.
Like there was like Black Hawks. It was the whole deal. And then I got to be mates with one of the sergeants that run the training courses.
Yeah.
But yeah, same deal. You know, they're just like breaking a person to see like how they react in that situation. And it was interesting. Like you and Benny Hannett last night were talking about the camp that you guys did in 06, and it's like the most brutal camp that you could have done in the office. Well, the most brutal camp that was ever done at the Broncos was the same year they won a premiership. And it's just like coincidence.
Yeah, exactly. And like, so this camp was 6 days, and it was 6 days of SAS.
Yeah.
What they do for SAS. So to get into the tippity top of the Australian Army, the difference is that we did it for 6 days, and it was like I lost 10 kilos.
Fuck.
Yeah, like Darius lost 12 kilos. We had ticks on us, leeches on us. Like, it's intense, you know, as we were saying last night. You know, your listeners probably won't hear that podcast, but
Which they should. They can go
to Bloke and Bar if you want.
Yeah.
You know, we had to kill chickens to eat. We didn't eat for 2 days.
How gnarly is that, bro?
Just chucked it at us and said, if you want to eat, there you go. And so I'm wigging out going,
I don't know how to kill a chicken.
Yeah, and I don't want to kill a chicken. I'm like, gone all fucking,
yeah.
like, I don't want to kill chickens.
You died of starvation in another world.
And then Brad Thorne just goes, give it here. Boom, rips its head straight off. And I was like, oh my God. But again, it's all about breaking people down and seeing, like, a lot of people think they've got what it takes.
Yeah.
But you just don't know. And this is not me sitting here saying, "Oh, I'm a tough guy," because I'm not. I'm the opposite of that. Like,
you know that you know now.
Yeah, I know. I know. Like, I didn't enjoy it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I did excel in that environment, but not because I was sitting there going into it saying I'm tough. This is
great. And
yeah. Whereas, like, you'd be surprised. You could have the guy that, you know, looks the toughest, you know, and you go, oh, mate, he's gonna kill it. The mere fit, everything. Some dweeby, nerdy, doesn't speak much or whatever, and you'd be surprised at the way different people react. Like, it honestly, it's actually a good exercise to do as well, because, like, you see a lot of strength in people that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
And so that's, again, it's all a part of the rite of passage. It's all a part of seeing, like, what are they made of when the chips are really down?
Yeah.
Do they like go inwards and care about themselves, or do they open up and say, let's go together as a team?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I understand that we need to obviously always listen and improve, but I do think
there's some value to that.
There's got to be some value. It's been around for hundreds of thousands of years.
Oh, dude.
You know, and I'm not talking about like crazy stuff or anything like that. We got to get rid of that, like dangerous, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I do think there is definitely benefit to going.
Yeah.
It's like a sifter.
Yeah.
You know, like sifting through, like, who's a waste of time and who's not.
Yeah, and I think too that, like, I think with Rones and Alex, like, there's two young dudes that work here, and they've worked here for, like, since they were in year 12, you know, and so it's like with Rones, it's like he's 3 years in, like, now, and there's times where it's like it's almost counterproductive to sit down, have the meeting, do it properly.
Yeah.
Whereas you just go like, mate, are you fucking serious?
Yeah, 100%.
And then be like, boy, come over here and have a look at what this dickhead has done. What a fucking idiot. And then everyone has a laugh at it.
Yeah.
It's cruel.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's not, it makes you feel kind of shit.
Yeah.
But it's like, it gets the message across in a way that everyone's involved in, everyone's on the same page, it's out in the open, there's no fucking weird, or I actually just think there's sometimes like value in that. And like, so I grew up around Nate and Callum Miles, right? So they played for suburbs, and we went to St. Joey's like school together, right? And so I was like the annoying younger kid that knew them from footy and would hang around them at school, like, and I'm like years younger than Nate. Like, I don't know how old Nate is. Maybe I'm like 3 or 4.
How old are you?
I'm 34.
34. I think he's like 37, maybe.
Yeah, so he's like a few years. Yeah, and like they wouldn't sit me down and be like, "Hey, Jace, you're talking too much."
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Oi, shut the fuck up," you know. And it's like a public kind of a public thing. But if that, like, I feel like I learned some shit from those boys, giving me that, you know, that attitude. And I think about like footy coaches too, man. Like we had this one, I played for Brothers in Cairns, which was, there was me and this kid called Martin Jelfer. We were the only white kids on this team, dude. And we were
probably the worst players out of the lot.
Bro, we were fucking awful. Martin was on the bench. I started, luckily, so I was the best of a bad bunch. But it was just us white boys on the team, and we had like a team of guns, bro. Like you know the juniors from up north that just
incredible.
like coconut footy. You know, like they
So
just got.
They're they're incredible.
Have a crazy level of athleticism and talent. And they're just throwing shit around everywhere. But a lot of those kids were kind of like broken sort of families and like this environment. We had this one coach, and he was a light skin, but he was Aboriginal.
Yep.
So he was pretty much white compared to these boys. And bro, like he was the most like hard-nosed racist. Like it was it was like you could have made a TV show about our like under 14s, under 15s.
So just like, a racist.
He was black. So like, but he was white compared to them. You know, so like he was actually Aboriginal. But you know, it looked like literally a white guy
saying all this bad stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I mean, the talent up there and the young Indigenous boys and Polynesian boys.
Oh man!
If they just had the same opportunities, whether it means going home to a home that is set and okay, there's so many players that could play NRL that never do.
Dude, there was so like Nate Miles, Jamie Frizzo, his brother Callum. Like there was a bunch at like Sammy Thaiday.
Big Sammy T.
Justin Hodges played. He was a Cairns boy. It was insane, man. The amount of talent that was up there. I mean, dude, Chico's from up there as well.
Sigaro.
Dude, bro, like his older brother, Billy.
Really?
Oh,
Gun.
bro, he was the man when I was a kid.
So Chico's really interesting, and maybe you would have seen it as well. Like, he's another guy that, like, beat the odds. You know, massively. Like, he's a young kid from PNG they were struggling so much financially that he was watching kids go to school and jealous of them because he couldn't afford to go to school.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other kids out there that just don't have the same pathways as, say, me when I grew up on the Gold Coast. Like, I didn't grow up with much money, but I had more opportunity than Chico did.
Yeah.
And a lot of these other Indigenous young lads and Polynesian boys, the talent up there is and also, you know, when you really sit down and think about what they're actually going through as young kids, you start to go, how they even got to where they were anyway is incredible.
Well, and footy was such and this was where I was going with the story about our coach.
Yeah.
He was such like a mentor to these boys. And like you'd see that he really mattered and what he said mattered, and he was fucking giving it to him, you know? Like if you stood on there were parents that used to complain about him.
No way.
On the sidelines that were like, and like parents of the other team that would be like, you can't talk to the boys like this, and it's like, lady, it's fine. You know, like this is how it works for him.
Yeah.
But that leadership that they had, because he was like a hard leader, and the rules and the discipline and making them come, and like, man, the talent on the team was just crazy, you know. But yeah, man, Chico, like he actually played with my brother. Like they played,
really?
Yeah, they played rep footy from like under 8s together. Yeah,
his story is amazing. His father was like relatively successful in PNG, and then a bunch of stuff happened, lost everything, had to move over here, live with other people. His story, I mean, again, there's so many, you know, Latrell's story is amazing. Like a lot of Indigenous kids, they just, if you put that challenge in front of me, I don't know whether I would have got through it, you know? Like, So, and in AFL too, it's similar situation. So many talented Indigenous kids that you wouldn't believe what they've been through to get to.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, there was a story of 2 Indigenous kids that drove like 9 or 10 hours or something recently to get a trial at one of the rugby league clubs. And like just that that sacrifice or that willingness,
like the drive to have a crack
with you know, so much other things going on, you know, at home or whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, it's incredible.
The thing with up home as well is, I think when I was like younger, I used to look at some of the boys. They were like the Indigenous boys that would play from a lot of, because it was like a very Indigenous club.
Yep.
And and we'd look at these boys that were going away on trials and going to play for, they'd go for do schoolboys and they'd get like the home stays and stuff. And then in 6 months, they'd be back. And everyone always, and me included, like when I was younger, you'd think that was a lack of like discipline and like they had all the talent, but they weren't serious about it or whatever. I don't know whether people understand it on like a wider spectrum, but there's a big cultural difference between white Australians or like immigrant Australians and then Indigenous Australians or Torres Strait Islanders culturally in terms of what family means. And so a lot of people, and I think it still gets thrown around sometimes, like, they're fucking so talented, but they just don't give a fuck or they're not whatever. It's like, nah, they actually value family in a different way than what we do. So when you take, actually, I'm trying to remember his name, but he was a halfback in the era of like Nate and like Ashley Millwood, and there was it was like a really good year where a lot of those boys kind of like graduated and went on, like Sammy Thaiday, that whole kind of era. And fuck, I wish I could remember his name, but he like phenomenal, bro. Yeah, like absolute, like just carved everybody. Yeah, and then he went away and then came back pretty quickly. And everyone, it's that same sort of, that same narrative that everyone was spinning. And then me and him, we ended up, actually, it was like at my school formal or something, and he was out and we were drinking. And he was just saying, like, I just miss my family, bro. Yeah. He's like, I could have made it. I could have signed the contract. He's like, I just come home. Yeah. It's got nothing to do with, like, I want to be on the piss or I want to. Yeah, I just don't fucking be away from my family. It is what it is. I'm not like 100%. Footy don't mean that much to me.
Well, it's like when people try to run with that narrative.
Is it still a narrative in the sport a little bit?
I think they're getting more educated, like because the game is trying to educate players of like the Indigenous culture, and like a lot of players like Latrell and Cody Walker are really, trying to be the forefront of that,
which is pretty cool.
It's really cool, and you're absolutely right. It's not just a throwaway line. It's like, oh, it's different. No, it is actually tangibly different.
Yes.
Family compared to, and it's not one is better than the other or whatever. It's just different.
Culturally on a different planet.
It's just different. And until you sit down with the Indigenous person and hear what they feel about the whole situation, you get a better understanding. But so you add that. Bro, how many immigrant or white fellas go away, including myself? I went to New Zealand. I got homesick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's not just them that get homesick. Everyone has it up. Like the amount of people that go to Super League in rugby league and they go over there for a year and play. These are gun NRL players. Yeah. Super League is nowhere near as good. These guys go there, get homesick, come home. Yeah. How many England players come here and then they go back home because they get homesick? Yeah. Like, so you've got that already, the cultural difference on top of it is human nature for a lot of people to go, I want to be either close to where I grew up, an hour away, a 2-hour flight max. Yeah. I want to be in a similar environment with a similar culture. It's comfortable. And so, I always just don't understand that narrative because it's like, well, we can look at so many other people that aren't Indigenous that get homesick. So why will we just attribute it to them? Like,
and it's not even described as homesickness. It's literally like my family died. Like that's literally the level at what. At least the way that it was explained to me is it's like a go away and it's like my family's dead, and like I think about my mum, like when I went to America, it was like my mum didn't want me to go and she was obviously sad, but it's like we're FaceTiming every day, like we're just, the tools are different, it seems like, like it seems like we've just got culturally we're so used to kids flying the coop and then we've got ways to deal with it within our own culture, and it's just it's not the same for those guys.
One of my ex-partners was from El Salvador. Oh yeah. And basically like you didn't leave the house until matter of fact, I think the eldest son, it was like culturally they would like expand the house and he would bring his wife into the home and the girl of the family would only leave once she was married. Yeah. And again, it's just cultural differences. You have to understand if you're brought up in that culture, leaving home, like, for example, me moving out at 18, it was like, yeah, of course, like, whatever, there's no big deal.
And your parents expect it. Everyone is on the same
way, find your own way kind of stuff. Whereas, like, let's say you're a young El Salvadorian or whatever, a young woman, and you say, I'm going to move out with my girlfriend and whatever. They'd be like, no.
Yeah, you're not married. You're
not married, like, you're not. And but also, the young girl usually would be like, I want to be around my family because it's culture. So it's just, I think it's just all about perspective. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, I'm sure there are some people that, you know, have gone away and been lazy or whatever. Like, that's human nature.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
that's human
yeah.
nature. That's not specific to one certain type of people. But man, it's weird as you get older how much, like, I flew back. I flew up here yesterday.
Yeah.
And I went back to my home that I grew up in today.
Oh, yeah.
To film the
Yeah.
stuff that I showed you earlier. And there's just nothing like home, is there?
Nah.
There's just, and I don't know, it's for everyone too. So it's like, it's not the place to
Yeah,
do this,
yeah.
because everyone has it.
Yeah.
But there's just, maybe it's because of the environment where you were safe because your parents took care of you. So
Yeah.
it's like you go back to that and you feel like, I don't have anything to worry about. Mum and Dad's going to take care of it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no place like home. man.
Nostalgia
Oh,
is so tangible.
Yeah.
Like, I was texting with one of my buddies, and we're both like moto kids, like watching the same videos and whatever. And so anyway, he records an audio note of an old song that was like on a bunch of like these movies.
Yep.
And I was like, fuck, haven't heard that. And I just like stopped everything that I was doing in my house, and I like got my speaker and I just like fucking cranked this song.
Oh.
And it was like I took drugs.
Yeah,
I
all the way
hadn't heard
back.
it in
Yeah.
so long, and it just like flooded its way through. And I think that home's like that.
Yeah.
I think that what you're getting is like some weird biological cocktail
Must be.
of nostalgia that is like a fucking drug.
And it's like, because you grew up there, there's almost a connection to the land to a degree as a human mammal. Like,
Yeah.
you know, as monkeys, really.
Yeah.
You know, that's your land or whatever. It's interesting because, like, you know, my father, he probably could have sold the property a bit ago, and like we all agreed, like, mate, like, and he agreed, he was the one pushing it, but like that's what he's worked his whole life. Like, if you know, he still hasn't paid it off, but so, and
Are your parents still up here?
yeah. So he still hasn't paid it off, but it's like, if you were to sell that now, then you leave this world with no land.
Yeah,
and it sounds a bit bizarre. Like, you sound like a primal kind of
I
thing.
know. I
you know what
actually
I'm
think the
saying?
same thing, bro.
Like, what's the point of leaving the world with not having any land? It's almost like you didn't exist. You know what I mean? In the grand scheme of things, you literally just didn't exist. You just came and went.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if you have at least some land, it doesn't have to be big or whatever, but it's like, that was the Kemp land. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
our land. We own it now. Look, we can get into conspiracies and the government can take it away from you and all that shit.
Yeah.
But for
all intents and purposes, it's ours.
it's ours until they come with the guns. But it's ours. And so it's just, I don't know. It's as I get older too. Like, when I was younger, I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, you know, who cares? Like, move wherever. As I get older, I'm like, man, you know, I'd love that to pass down through the family, whether it's my brother or me or sister or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something about home, eh? It's just fucking weird. And everyone has it.
Oh no, and you're right. It's as you get older, and so we're pretty much the same age. Like, you're 35, I'm 30. Are you 89? Oh, sorry, 87. Yeah. So, did we have the best generation? Like, were we it? Did we have the last good one?
Oh man, I don't know.
Do you ever think about that?
I'm always of the, okay, this is one I think I always promised myself. I never wanted to be an older hater. So I never wanted to be the guy, like, for example, like when TikTok first came out. Like, look, would I ever dance on TikTok? Absolutely not. But I'm never going to be the guy like, you fucking idiot.
This is fucking stupid.
Yeah, you loser. Like, what are you doing? Like, of course, there's some stuff where I'm like, ooh, that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
But like, I've always promised myself, like, our parents had the same feeling about us.
Yeah.
So how can you not understand that all you're doing is exactly what your parents did to you that pissed you off?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it doesn't mean that, like, I have to go and do TikTok and start dancing to that. But at the same time, like, hating
But
on
you
these
should.
kids- I should. I mean, yeah, get a kid off and start dancing. But like, doesn't mean I have to start hating on these kids.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
also, like, to say subjective, like, say objectively, oh, TikTok's shit, or like, that content is shit. It's like, well, then you are your parents, because your parents was like, how do you play video games all day?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't get it. It's the fucking best thing ever.
Headshots, mum.
Exactly. And it's the same thing with the next generation. They're like, I never want to be that, because then they'll say the same thing to me. You don't get it. So what I will say about our generation, though, that I think is extremely valuable and different to any other generation, was we had pre and post internet kind of lives.
We were the last ones.
We were the last ones, but also were the first ones.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I do think that is a unique place to be in history where we can go, we know what it was like pre-internet, but we were also the first ones to adopt it.
Yeah.
And I think, and the internet, it's arguably the most important invention of all time.
Yeah.
And so I think that's special. I do think that's special.
I think that there's something to that. Like I'll go and take like a harder stance on that, in the sense that, not in the, you're right, you never want to be your parents. But I really think, like, objectively, when you look at the way that we grew up, like, we had house parties, we had phone lines, we had dial-up internet, there was no Instagram, you didn't have a smartphone, like, but we were so young still when all of those things were implemented, and we were like the early adopters of the internet. So it's like, we're the Besser brick of bricks, or like we're the GoPro of action cams.
Yeah.
Like we were the first ones,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like, when it comes to using the internet, it's like we were first to market.
Yeah.
And it's like, then I think like you're starting to see the shift into the people that have only grown up with the internet, and they've only ever grown up with like Twitter beef and wokeness, and like never been punched in the mouth.
Oh,
never,
bro.
you know what I mean? Like never had.
Honestly, this is going to sound mental, and maybe it is mental.
Shoot your shot, baby.
Bro, I'm going to shoot it. I kind of feel like every young person should be punched in the face once.
100%.
Even if, like, I'm not saying they break their jaw, they put the mouth guard on, put boxing gloves on. I'm not saying go and scrap. I'm just saying I just need some people to know how quickly you can get knocked out and how vulnerable you really are. Yeah. And that's coming from a guy that thought I was invulnerable when I was 18. You know? Like, obviously, I got in my fair share of fights when I was growing up. Whereas this next generation, like, you can't fight.
No.
You don't. There's no fighting. Like, you'll get charged with, you fucking, before you know it, you're in court.
Yeah.
And I think that it's made too many people comfortable being super disrespectful for no reason,
with no consequences.
And I'm not some guy that like is like, I'm against street fighting. Like, if you're gonna do it in a ring or whatever.
Yeah, or at least on the grass.
At least on the grass. But like, at the same time, there has to be a line somewhere where it's like, there's got to be consequences for your actions.
Yeah.
You can't say something so disrespectful and then hide behind the good nature of everyone else, which is we all abide by the law. Yeah. Because that's what you're doing. You're hiding behind the good nature of everyone else.
Yeah.
That's what, like, a lot of bad people today thrive even more because the law is so on top of us. We're so surveilled, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Because they rely on our good nature to not create anarchy. Whereas if there was 10 of them, it's anarchy because you got one person not playing by the rules, but everyone else is playing by the rules. The guy not playing by the rules, usually he wins.
Scot-free.
Because it doesn't matter. Whereas if you got 10 blokes not playing by the rules, everyone's scrapping.
Yeah.
And that makes me mad because I'm like, you rely on our good nature to take advantage of us.
Yeah.
When in reality, 20 years ago,
you would have got what's coming.
You would have to ask yourself, am I willing to get in a physical altercation for what I'm about to do or say?
Yeah. It's so true.
And look, I'm not some like, walking around going, look, what are you looking at? None of that. Like, I think it's the cringest shit ever.
Yeah.
But some of the chat from people, you go, mate, you would never say that ever. Because there's got to be a consequence for your action, but there is no consequence.
Yeah. No, I agree. Did you ever get fucking smacked in the mouth and really had to like...
I was never...
Cop it?
No, I was never like lippy or anything like that. I got in heaps of fights. Not heaps of fights, but... Like, I would get bullied a lot throughout school. So, like, I think it was grade 4 was probably my first fight. And then it would have been... Then grade 6 had a fight, and that was against 2 classmates. And they called, like, my sister a fat cow or something like that, fought them. And again, there's a good example. Like, they called my sister something that's younger than me. Nowadays, if I did that, I'd get suspended from school.
Oh, yeah, you're done, yeah.
But, like, who's in the wrong here?
Yeah.
The kids that were calling a younger girl a fat cow.
And then there's no, like, accountability.
There's no accountability.
Consequences.
Little slap on the... did you call a fat cow? They say, no, I didn't.
No, yeah. And then you've got to go through, well, you need to fill out this form and you're going to have to
100%.
Do a course about it.
Yep. And, okay, so then... Yeah, so had a fight in year 6, had a fight in year 8. This was with the same group of guys. Like, they just kept...
Yeah.
What would happen is they'd bully me for like a year or two. Like, it was basically...
Then you'd have a fight, and then they wouldn't, and then they'd start again.
And then I would say, enough's enough, let's go.
Yeah.
And then year 8, I think year 10... I don't think year 10 that we had another fight, but the bullying did get quite bad then. But at that stage, I was away so much for sport that, like, I just could avoid it. And then outside, I had a few scuffles, like when I was like 18 and that. I remember one real bad one in Surfers Paradise. Like, I was just walking.
It'll happen there.
Yeah, it'll fucking know that'll happen there. And I was just walking and someone, called out, oh, you're gay, rah, rah. Because, like, I don't know, I dressed nice, I guess. It's like,
bro, I just got good hair. Fuck,
Like, that's a
you're
compliment.
right.
Thanks, bro. I look good then. You're saying I look good?
Yeah. What a fuck.
Yeah, let's do it, bro. Anyway, so yeah, I went over to him and I was like, mate, like, what's wrong with you? Like, I don't even know you, and you're calling that out. And he's like, oh, you know, sorry, mate. But before I knew it, he's like 11 mates had like come behind me and the boys. Anyway, dog shot from behind from one of them. Then it was just this fucking huge scuffle. Yeah, and there's been little scuffles between there and then. But those little scuffles have taught me, like...
Just, you got a healthy respect for, like, what you do and don't say.
I don't want to fight.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight.
Yeah.
Because it's like, getting punched in the face with no glove on...
Fucking sucks.
Your face should break. Put it this way, if someone knows how to throw a punch and they connect cleanly on your face will break.
Yeah.
And people don't get that. They watch movies and they think these big swinging punches and they go, "Whoa, wow, that's what a fight." No.
Yeah, it's over pretty quick.
He gets a clean shot and he knows how to throw a punch. You will have a broken jaw, broken cheekbone, whatever it is, almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that.
No, I completely agree. It's hectic, dude. I remember I was a smart ass kid. I remember this will never fucking leave me ever.
Yeah.
And it never left me. So I played for Suburbs for a year, and then I left. I didn't like the coach, and then it was like a brothers game, and he was like had a few beers, and he was sort of standing there, and I ended up in his orbit, and we were kind of talking. I was like maybe 15 or something like that. I was maybe 15. And then he was like an old hard footy bloke too, you know, like he was a kind of, now knowing it, now I didn't know then essentially, like I didn't have the full awareness of like what a real man was at this point, you know. So I can't even remember what I've said, but I've like lipped up and said some fucking dumb kid shit. And he literally looked at me and he took a sip and he just fucking elbowed me in the face, bro. In the grandstands of a
Holy
fucking junior
shit.
footy game.
That's so rugby league.
And
That's
bro,
so rugby league.
I just fucking copped it.
Yeah.
I just wiped the blood off my face. Like my lip was bleeding, my nose was bleeding. And I just wiped my thing and I was like, all right.
I guess that's the way it is.
And I just fucking turned my shoulder a little bit so I didn't have to look at him. And bro, I was fucking crushed. I tried to play it all cool, and I was like too scared to tell my old man because he would have fucking gone, like it would have just been on, you know, because I was a kid. I deserved it.
Yeah, and I guess it was funny, like even at that age, you kind of... I kind of deserve that.
Oh,
you know,
dude,
you know
I
what I'm
knew,
saying?
bro.
Even
I
at that
knew
age.
instantly.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, okay, fair call. And that was like man shit, you know, like,
yeah.
And I'd been in, dude, we were the most. It was so funny because I was the only white kid on the team. I could literally, the boys would say to me like, first scrum, just fucking start throwing punches. Like, just get in there and just start. And I'd be like, yeah, okay, boys, no worries. I was like a year younger than everyone.
Yeah.
So we'd get in like a bunch of, like, those boys just loved it. I think half of them loved to be able to go to the footy on the weekend and just get into a fight.
And the good thing about footy fights is, like, mostly no one's getting knocked out. Like, you do see it sometimes.
Yeah.
But they're so scuffly and rough that, like, it's, you know.
And there's
bruise,
people there. And, yeah. But this was like, actually real. This was like getting hit by a man, just fucking, it felt like in cold blood. And I was fucking rattled, bro. Like it was out of control. But that taught me
you a massive lesson.
Very, very valuable lesson.
You know what a valuable lesson about, like, it literally broke my heart once. So I had one good friend in year 12. Like, anyway, so like, I don't know, like I was talking to another bloke and so his name was Lincoln. And so I was talking to another guy, and I don't know, we were talking about like athletic ability or something. Anyway, so all I said was like, oh, Lincoln, he's lanky, so he's not that fast. Anyway, got back to him that I'd called him lanky, and he like pulled me up on it. And I was like, and he was filthy at me. So I'd lost my only friend.
Yeah.
It broke my heart. And I was, from that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm never talking shit about, even though it's like lanky, fuck me, Jesus Christ, bro. I'm never talking shit about one of my best mates ever again, because I never want to feel the dog portrayal of him being angry at me for something that I'd done.
Yeah. Dude, that would have hurt, bro.
It stung so bad, bro. And I was like lost for words because I couldn't deny it. But I was like, and he's like fucking, he was filthy though. I mean, he wasn't that good of an athlete, if I'm being honest.
He was lanky and he was fucking useless. No, I think in this circumstance, you should have stuck up for yourself.
Well, so let's have a race, mate. If you can beat me, you're not lanky.
Nah, there was some hard lessons to learn in that era. Like that guy could not do that to me now. And it'd be okay.
He'd go to
like,
jail.
could you imagine, bro? A dude just straight, and he was fucking probably drunk.
Yeah,
like,
he'd be on the news probably. Like coach elbows, fucking young next big thing.
Next superstar, next halfback superstar. Yeah, but it was funny though because I knew in my heart that I deserved it.
Yeah,
and I also knew that was actually a crazy day of like understanding the real world in a sense because I also knew not to rat and tell my dad. Yeah. Because then I knew that would cause consequences for this guy. Yeah. And I deserved it. So it was like a very humbling, leveling experience. Yeah. And I learned a few things too, like keep your fucking mouth shut as well because you fucking earned that.
Yeah. And there's certain blokes that are willing to take it across that line real quick.
Yeah.
Whereas like a lot of people, they'll talk about it, but they aren't willing to take that step.
Yeah.
Like even me, like I was brought up with like, you never throw the first punch ever.
My dad told me the exact opposite, man.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Yeah. But there are some people out there that are taught you always throw first because that's how you win. Yeah. And so that's two polar opposites. So I'm sitting here thinking, I'm not throwing until the death. You're thinking,
I'm out of here.
As soon as this kicks off, I'm starting to throw. So, you know what I mean? Like, and if you're not aware of that environment, it's I always liken it to like when they banned punching in the NRL. Yeah. It made it actually a bit bizarre because
I can't stand that, to be honest.
There was still some people that were willing to cross that line. Yeah. But 90% of the players
wouldn't do it.
I'm never getting in a fight again because we're not allowed to punch. Yeah. So it actually made it more dangerous for some players because the one guy that was ready to kick off at any fucking second, I mean, you look at the Gull and the Nate Miles situation that end up banning it. Yeah. Nate Miles obviously wasn't ready to fight. Yeah. You look at Curtis Scott and Dylan Walker, like, this is for big footy fans. And also what it did was it took away the power of you have little niggly players. If they go around niggling everyone.
Yeah, like the 2Vs and the...
Talking shit, giving you like putting you in uncomfortable positions, all that kind of stuff. Back in the day, they had to be aware that if they did that, Gordon Tallis might grab the front of your jersey and before you know it, you're in the fucking washing machine. Before you know it, in the washing machine getting absolutely fed. Whereas now, there is no punishment. Niggly as you want. And so the power dynamic of the big fellas, they're almost at a disadvantage now because you've got little hookers that can do anything. Wrap their head, push their heads, all that kind of stuff, and they can't do anything.
Zero consequences. Yeah, that honestly was a big turning point in me. I don't know whether this sounds lame to say, but that was a big turning point in me, like not really giving a fuck about footy anymore.
Oh, really?
And it wasn't because of Dude, I bled footy. Like when we grew up, I played from under 6s to under 16s. Yeah. And I was at training 2 to 3 times a week. Like we were fucking in the footy thing. So it's not like I was a casual fan. Like there was a time where I was invested. It just got so fucking hard to watch, man. Yeah, like really. It got so hard to watch that sort of shit where there was like no consequences for the players that would have not done that, and there was like people didn't have to walk the walk. They could just talk the talk. Absolutely. And then it sort of spills over. I just think it kind of like spills over into the whole game. It spills over into holding players down in tackles and it like I don't know. To me, it seemed like it become a pretty kind of big deal through the game, and then I think the referees got very, very involved in the game as well because there was no other way of adjudicating in a sense. Like it had to be the whistle was like the only way that things got handled.
Because it used to be the players that would take care of it.
Well, there was some stuff that the ref would take care of, but then there was other stuff that like the players would take care of, and then it become like you said that when everyone's got a nuclear bomb, no one wants to use them. Yeah. And then you take the bombs away, like you take the power away of like a Gordon Tallis, or then all of a sudden, like you said, you've just changed the entire like power dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you even saw it a step even further. Like it's look, I understand NRL.
I get the other side of it.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, I get it. Like rugby league and the NRL, they got sponsors and all that stuff. So just know that we understand that side of things. But I do think that, for example, when they try to crack down on their head highs, look, I'm an ex-player, so I've probably got brain trauma. Not probably, I do. Yeah. Anyone that's played NRL...
Well, this side of your face is kind of...
yeah, exactly. But anyone that's played NRL has had concussions. Yeah. And if you've had concussions, you've most likely got CTE. Now, obviously, there is different levels of it. Some is really bad. Yeah. Some is just really, you're not even going to notice it. You won't even bother you. So this is coming from a place of like, of course I don't want players getting head high. I didn't want to get head high. I'm not sitting here going, oh, how good is it this bloke took his head off? But I do think that they've got to find a balance between the players know what they're getting into. It's a different story. Like when the whole drama with the NFL first happened, the concern wasn't the fact that they were playing and getting head knocks. The concern was that they had information about brain trauma that they were allegedly didn't pass on.
Yeah.
Whereas the NRL, to my understanding, has always passed on all that information. And so I kind of feel like if you're a player, you have to acknowledge, and I think players do, they understand that they may have that long-term damage.
Yeah.
And so we have to find a balance between, look at rugby union, for example. You can't even tackle above the pec pretty much.
Yeah.
You don't want to take away the extreme excitement of rugby league. You look at the UFC. What is that? It's the most exciting sport in the world. Why? Because there's rules, and anyone that thinks there isn't rules just doesn't know how
they don't watch it.
Yeah, how intricate the rules are.
Yeah.
But it is so brutal and so violent. At the end of the day, like that's what people want to watch.
Yeah.
We can pretend to pearl clutch and we can pretend to sit there and go, oh, this isn't good. I'd never put my kid in this, never put my kid in that. But you'll still watch it.
Yeah.
It's still entertaining. There's something primal about the physicality of the whole thing. And so we have to strike a balance between 100% taking care of the players. Like there's no, absolutely, I agree with all the protocols. If you get knocked out cold, you shouldn't be back for at least another week or two.
Yeah.
I think even 2 weeks. But shots that glance up off shoulders and just hit, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We have to accept it in the game, I think. And accept that the concern I have as well with you don't ever want to get to a point. I feel like sometimes the world is moving towards no sport, as in no risk, never get hurt.
Yeah.
All we do is live in this zombified bubble of just a flat line.
Yeah.
There's no ups, there's no downs, there's no damage.
Yeah.
You never have to feel there's so many people I feel like now, not so many people, there are some people that I've met that genuinely never want to feel bad again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That gets sold to you in a weird way.
You've always got to be happy.
You've always got to be happy. You've always got to be married. You've got to be married at this age.
Yeah.
You've got to have kids at this age. You've got to have this kind of job. We've been sold the biggest crock of shit. Hey, guess what? The reality is that there's this fucking universe that's outside of this tiny little fucking body that you've got. And it's pushing and pulling in all different directions. You're in an absolute fuckfest of inputs and outputs. And, it's there's no, how do you control the flow so that all feels good?
Yeah.
All the time.
It's craziness.
And then expect that you should be happy or that things shouldn't be hard. I think even that's a thing where people think it's not even that they want to be happy. I think they want things to be easy,
frictionless.
Yeah,
just everything to move in the way that they want it to, and it's kind of for example, I feel like there's this big mantra now of don't give a fuck. It's cool to not care.
Yeah.
The less you care, the cooler you are. And it blows my mind because I'm look at all the great men and women in history. What do they all have in common? They were cared fucking heaps. They'd have down days. They'd care. You know what I mean? They were passionate about what they did. And so when people say, oh, just don't give a fuck. I'm I give a fuck. It fucking matters to me. I care about rugby league. I care about, my podcast. I care about my family. This whole idea of fuck, who gives a shit? Nothing matters. It's all right, bro. Well, fucking just end it then. Who gives, you know what I mean? If nothing matters, go the whole way, bro. What? Obviously, that's a joke, but you know what I'm saying? This attitude of just be carefree and nothing matters. Obviously, you've got to balance stress and all that kind of stuff. But I think that some of the best art, some of the best things ever created have come out of pain and suffering.
Oh, dude.
It's just bizarre to me, this whole mantra of just don't care.
Yeah.
Just don't care.
It's funny. So, again, a shout out to the podcast you did with Benny Hannett last night. But he was talking about when he won the grand final. I can't remember whether it was with the Bronx or the Cows, but it was one of those titles that he won.
Yep.
And he was saying that the feeling of relief It wasn't even like excitement or happiness. It was relief. Dude, I don't know what the fucking deal is. I've thought about it for years and years and years. But I completely agree. We don't give a fuck about the moment. Like, you never care. You cross the finish line of a Supercross race and it takes 0.001 second to like cross that beacon that says that you won that race.
This is 0.05, bro.
That was a cheap shot. I'm sorry.
How dare you, sir?
But you cross that beacon, right? And it takes 0.0.
Every time you say the word beacon.
I was like, do I say it again just to prove that
I didn't mean it.
that I didn't mean it? You cross that finish line, you cross that checkered flag, but it's such a small amount of time. And then the feeling of, and like I got to see this firsthand at the races. Like I would film the race, and I'd film the lead up to the race, and then I'd film the racing, and then I'd be there on the podium, and then we'd drive back in the rental car, and then we'd all get dinner, and then we'd be back at the hotel room. And it's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
That feeling, you might have won the championship. You might have won your first race. Guess what, bro? You're still you 2 hours later, and that feeling's passed. Yeah. But what stays is relief.
Yeah.
That's the thing that has like this lingering effect. That's like a thing that I feel like you can enjoy. And the bigger the challenge, the more, the higher the summit, you know, like the gnarlier the grind.
The bigger the beak.
The bigger the beak. how the relationship between like how hard it was is then on the flip side like the amount of relief that you feel and the amount that you can like enjoy that. So if you strip all of the hard things away from your life, and if you remove the down days, and if you remove the friction, and if you remove the grind, what are you left with? You know, like where's the sense of relief come from?
Honestly, like that's where I like feel that we're heading towards. Like we're so zombified by the Netflix and like I love Netflix. I love consuming content. So I'm not holier than thou. Like I'm as guilty as anyone else. But think about the amount of hours of content the normal person consumes compared to 20 years ago. Yeah. Like so when you used to work, you could almost go, oh, I'm at work, you know, from 9 till 5. But like, what did you really have to go home to? Like in the sense of, okay, you get home, you might see your wife, but then like, you're not really doing that much. You might have one show on Channel 9 or something that you watch. Yeah. Whereas like now, it's almost like you've got everything to get home to. Like the world of the internet of content to consume. And so you just get home and you just consume. And like, I'm not one for like the whole hustle culture and that carry on. Like I actually really dislike it. I actually think a lot of that whole entrepreneur stuff is actually just another form of escapism, and people just use it,
bro, 100%,
as a way to go, oh man, my life could actually be like that, like, and live vicariously through these like 4 or 5 guys that talk like, man, you got to work 70 hours a week, rah rah, and like, you know, I'm sure there are gems of advice in it, but the whole culture around it is like almost like it's like playing a video game. I sit down for 5 hours to play the video game to escape reality and enjoy the world that I'm in. Yeah. And I feel like the same with entrepreneurship, with the culture around it, not the actual the doing of entrepreneurship. And so like I get concerned with like all this content. We're almost like we're already in the future. We just don't realize it yet.
Yeah, I do, for sure.
Because it's happened so slowly. Like it's happened so progressive that each year or each day things get more, like handed. Like we've got a phone that connects us to every bit of information in the world. Like that's like telepathy. Like,
yeah.
I've literally like I could stick it there. Like if I stuck that there and made it part of my arm, you would think that guy's from the fucking future. Like there's a futuristic android or whatever. Yeah. But it's with us anyway. All the time. Yeah. So it's basically that. Yeah. And then you look at like we're already in the future in the sense that we sit there and watch incredibly famous people on Twitch for hours on end consume content. Like that would have been in a futuristic movie 15 years ago, and would have been going, bro, that's fucked. Like
heavy.
Everything's so commodified. Yeah. So like the concern with the content and the initial point is like we're already kind of there, but we don't realize it, and it's almost too late to realize that we're being not intentionally zombified. It's our own fault because we choose to.
That's what I wonder, because I think about this quite a lot, man. Because I'm a guy that is sitting in this chair every day making content for the internet that literally gets millions of views a month. And then, but what I'm doing is I'm telling people about like, go and live your life. Like, you know what I mean? Like all this, like go to do this, go do that, like these experiences. And it's like, I wonder, like I actually wonder, where does that actually sit in this ecosystem of like, are you just a part of the problem? Are you, obviously you see the good that it does, but I do wonder about that sometimes,
sure. Like,
you know.
Where do you land as a part of the problem, or do you land outside of it?
How much of a part of the problem am I, you know? And I'm so cognizant in my life of how much screen time that I have. And, you know, and I know that the more productive I am in my life is when I'm looking the least at my phone, you know?
Yeah.
And then I did 2 years without watching one single movie or show.
Really?
Straight, just clipped everything from the program. I watched YouTube.
Yep.
But yeah, literally 2 years, bro.
Wow.
And man, I went and watched him. What did I watch? What did I break my fucking sobriety? Yeah. But I remember sitting in the movie theater and like it was fucking overwhelming.
Oh, really? This like the
it was
sensory
hectic, bro.
Yeah,
like,
wow. Have you seen the new Avatar?
Nah, is it worth it?
It is. You got to see it in the cinema, bro.
Really?
It is. When you talk about sensory overload, it is like you're sitting there going, "I'm in the future."
Really?
It's fucking amazing. Have you seen it, bro? No.
Seen it, Griff? Why not?
Trust me.
Is that what you think?
Like it's not a movie. It's an experience. Like the storyline, it's okay.
That's sort of what's fucking me on it, you know?
It's okay.
Do I just have to...
Don't worry about that.
Put some AirPods in.
It's like yeah.
Listen to a podcast.
Yeah, listen to a podcast, watching a movie, whilst you got your laptop out and your phone.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine, it's like a theme park ride.
Yeah.
Treat it like that.
Okay.
I promise you, bro, it'll fucking blow your mind.
Yeah.
It's just... Yeah.
But think about that, though. Think about the physiology of like what you're experiencing there. And so there's another weird thing with movies, right? And content, and this is another thing I kind of like found in the 2 years of like not doing it. And dude, like when I was in America, I was doing the action sports thing, but I wanted to be like a movie director. Like,
oh, really?
That's why I went there.
Okay.
I watched like so many movies. I was doing like short film. I was like fully on the hustle of like trying to be a fucking.
Like, were you artsy?
Trying.
Were you like doing weird shit?
Yeah, I was trying.
Like painting with your blood and like shitting on paint.
Mostly cum, but.
I mean, that's a good start.
But I mean, no one ever saw it, and it just went on like tissue paper, and then I just. But yeah, so there was a point where I was like into it. So it's not like I like wasn't into movies.
Yeah.
I was definitely into movies, but I just took that time off. I was like, I'm just gonna focus on my business. I'm just gonna like. I basically made YouTube clips and Instagram videos for 2 years.
Yeah.
And didn't do anything else. And
you're like in a basement, just like pumping out clips,
bro. Legit, it was fucked. Like I had a roommate. I love him, Jacko, and he would just laugh at me. All I did was I'd get up in the morning and I would read. I'd come into work and then I'd come home and
I thought you were going to say I come.
Yeah, come. I was chasing that record. But then I'd like go to jiu-jitsu and then I'd come home and edit clips. And on the weekend, I'd fucking edit.
Yeah.
But in that period of not watching shit and then you start to like go and watch a movie or whatever, there was like such an overload of like sensory overload when you don't do it for so long. Like, man, I like felt everything
really?
And I was like emotional and like I had tears in my eyes and like fucking
hell.
Dude, it was like, what movie? Fuck, it was about, what was her name? Oh, one of the African American first singers, like, and there was a crazy movie that came out. She got like the cops planted heroin on her and shit. I can't fucking remember.
Not like, obviously not Whitney Houston.
Nah.
Oh, Hudson, no.
Nah.
Anyway,
it was way back to that. But anyway, but I remember like I just felt everything. I was like had tears in my eyes. Like it was a full on experience. And then as I started, I'd like watch a show here or there. There's something that's crazy about being able to have a human interaction and it be like on this screen, right? And you're staring into a person's eyes. And like right now I'm like looking into your eyes, but I'm on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Like I'm on the other side of your gaze.
Yeah.
So you can see what I'm doing. You can you can read what I'm doing. And so I have to read you, you have to read me. Like we're in this thing together, right?
Yeah.
So like the things that I do will impact like how you think and feel and whatever. And then we're constantly reading those things. When you go to the cinema, you get to like sit there and just be completely unimplicated by that other person's gaze. Like, and you just, it's so voyeuristic in a way that, because we've all watched TV our whole life, I don't think people have ever really stopped to think about, like, if, let's say that cinema was like taken away instantly, and then the person that was that you thought was on the movie theater was looking back at you, fuck, you'd feel weird.
That's so true.
Like, it would be such like a crazy weird feeling to go from like unimplicated to implicated.
You don't exist to them and they don't exist to you, to existing in each other's world and impacting the environment around you.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to like it's almost when you see something on TV and then you see the person in real life or whatever.
Yeah.
And like they're so much larger than life when you see them in a movie, even on a screen, like on your let's say your favorite content that you watch on your phone. I even feel like when you see the person in real life, there's almost this harsh reality to, oh, that's just a person.
Yeah,
and it's, it's not coming from a place of like, oh, they're just a person, mate.
He's actually a loser.
Yeah, it's not that at all.
But it's weird. It's a weird interaction.
They're in your space now.
Yeah.
Whereas you're right, like when you're not in each other's space, but our monkey brains, hundreds of thousands of years, have only experienced being in each other's space.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there. It's even like when someone leaves a negative comment on your Instagram. When you really think about it, you're going, this guy is just a fucking random. Like
he does not exist.
He does not exist.
Yeah.
But because my monkey brain is thinking someone just said that to me, that is within my vicinity.
Yeah.
Because my monkey brain doesn't know about the technology or whatever. It gets me angry.
You still feel the feeling.
Yeah. Whereas if someone said like it got back to me 10 years later, oh, this random dude said that your podcast was shit, I'd be like, cool, bro, like, or whatever, because it's there in front of me, and so you're totally right about that, like, in your environment, it's just it's like a different even plane.
Yeah.
And
then you can like analyze, and you've got all this time to analyze and internalize and like think about how it reflects on your own personal experience, and like, because you don't have any required action. So that, so you can just sit and soak it in, and it's like you can think about yourself.
It's almost a selfish act.
It's bizarre.
You know what I mean? Like, because all you're doing is sitting there going, everything that's happening on screen is for me.
Yeah.
And also on top of that, I don't have to do nothing for it.
Yeah. And you're unimplicated.
Yeah.
And there's no effort, that it's completely like voyeuristic.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I think about all the time, but like, why do we love content?
Yeah.
Because like it was a joke we were making at the start, like, oh yeah, do it for content or whatever.
Like, but, oh, shut up, don't say that because that's great for the potty.
yeah. But we are fucking obsessed with, and I still haven't figured it out. It's like exactly what is that pointing to? Like, what's the tip of that spear? And I don't even know that collectively we know what it is.
Yeah. I mean, is it like because the test of time of stories or something, like is it being able to watch something and being able to take it away from it? Like, for example, I guess the oldest version of it would be sitting around a campfire,
just
telling a story.
Yeah.
Does it go all the way as deep as that, and we're just visually showing it now rather than verbally describing the story? And that's what's like, to wrap it all up and bring it all together, like, that's what a podcast is. It's it's around the campfire.
Yeah.
And so when people kind of like, oh, our podcasts are here, are they going to stay? And I was like, guys, podcasts are the oldest form of content in the world.
I completely agree.
In the newest form of technology, which is the internet.
Yeah.
It is literally storytelling. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
And you'll never run out of stories to tell. People always want to hear them. And I wonder, it must be, is it the escapism maybe? You escape into that story. I'm not sure. It's so bizarre.
It's funny that you say that. Like, I've always drawn the same analogy to the campfire. And like growing up in Cairns, like that was what we did. Like we just went camping. Like we always went up bush, Cape York. And that's like my earliest memories is of a campfire. And that's literally what this is, And you got like the two dudes that are telling the story and everyone around the campfire is listening. But in this case, it's just hundreds of thousands of people don't know.
I will say is like telling a yarn, there's just only few that can do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you hear someone that can't tell a yarn try to tell a yarn,
Oh,
it's fucking painful. And I'll be honest, I think most people can't. Just like I can't draw for shit. I can't sing for shit. You know what I mean? Like there's stuff that I can't do. There's stuff that I can't do. But I always wonder as well as like, is there some kind of genetic trait that is passed on that makes you... Because like storytellers have been the core of tribes for...
But who did you have in your life when you were a kid that was a good storyteller?
Well, my dad worked all the time. I never really, like especially early on, so I didn't see him that much. I read a bit, I guess. Not heaps though.
Okay.
Not heaps. Like I'm a big fiction fan. Like I don't really read non-fiction.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll probably pass. Like so, my brother was reading a lot, and then so I started to read. Not a lot, but I read.
Do you read
some
much
books.
now?
Yeah, every night, but like just little snippets. And I'm actually just rereading a book I've read fucking a million times.
Yeah.
The Farseer trilogy. It's like a...
What is it?
It's called the Farseer trilogy. It's like a fictional... it's like fictional. It's like medieval to a degree. I like all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, is there like a genetic... Like, for example, the oldest culture in the world is the indigenous culture.
Yeah.
And they literally used to pass down their culture...
Through stories.
Yeah. And so... There's got to be some connection. I don't know what it is. I'm not intelligent enough to find that.
Yeah.
But the oldest culture in the world was an oral tradition, not books and rah-rah. It was stories, metaphors around all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just, if someone said, "Oh, he's a good storyteller," it's like, "Well, she's a good story." It's like, "Oh, whatever." But when you actually think about it, you're like, the power in that is almost infinite.
Oh, it's actually scary.
Yeah.
Like Hitler was a good storyteller.
Which is fucking crazy.
Yeah. Trump, good storyteller.
Yeah, and it's the power of being able to sway people with your words.
Yeah.
Is almost they always say the pen's mightier than the sword, but like, it kind of is.
Yeah.
Like it kind of is.
I think about it all the time with the sport in Supercross. Like it's inadvertently. Like it wasn't not something I ever thought would happen, or like necessarily like wanted to happen. At times, I feel conflicted about it, but like. We can talk about stuff on the podcast, or like I'll have a big name guy come on the show and he'll talk about some shit and then it changes things. Like and you'd have it too, I'm sure, with what you've done. And you see, like, like 10 years ago, I was just like trolling after parties, making out with fucking random
just picking up
like,
crumbs.
You know what I mean? Like, and now I'm over here doing this, and it's like the words that you say can literally like start things that lead into action. And granted, it's been like positive, like I feel like lucky in the sense that intentions are always good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the power that you can have in controlling the narrative, and the power that it's given players and racers and drivers to control their own narrative and to go like, whoa. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
This is what happened. And if you give me an hour, I'll fucking tell you exactly what the deal is.
Yeah.
And then take your shit from this, like me actually saying it. Change the game, dude.
Yeah.
And you think about as well, like the being independent media. Like that's never been really a thing, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's been a thing, but it's always been swallowed by the Murdochs of the world and the CNNs and then you get like these fucking like a Rogan or a Jordan Peterson or a
I think that like you could argue Rogan has more power than CNN.
Oh, like easily he does. Like
which
easily.
And like that's just incredible. Like it's almost mind blowing. It doesn't seem real. And again, all the power of a story. What's interesting as well about podcast is that like when you actually look at the research that's been done. The advertising dollars that are still in old media, it's like 5% in podcasts, if that.
Dude, that is what's crazy.
So when that shifts, and look, it'll take longer than expected because they're all in each other's pockets. The ad agencies, the head of the big networks, like they're all, it's all, you do this for me, you do that for me. But it is slowly changing. When that changes and you see even 20%, like 20%, imagine 50. Let's say 50% comes to new media. Like, it'll almost be a seismic shift in the world because, and it seems dramatic. But imagine...
No, it's bang on.
Imagine how many more Joe Rogans, and again, this is coming from a guy that disagrees with a lot of the new stuff that he says, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. I don't dislike him for it. I just personally disagree with it. So I'm not some Joe Rogan fanboy anymore. Like I respect incredibly what he did. But imagine 100 more of them because of the resources that have been turned into podcasting that they don't have to necessarily be exactly like Joe Rogan. What I mean is the impact that he has.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you've got a system where people are, I mean, it's a double-edged sword because you can create echo chambers, because people that only tune into what they want to tune into. But at the same time, it almost makes it...
It's more democratic.
Exactly. It takes the power away from one person not one person, but like
a group of
four
people,
organizations this is the narrative that we're going to be pushing right now. Like the amount of stuff, and I don't want to get into it like left or right or, conservative. I don't get into any of that stuff. But the amount of stuff that you would be shocked at how many issues we don't have, but they just get politicized.
Yeah.
So you're being told constantly there's a problem because the whole setup is this. I tell you there's a problem. Guess who can fix it? Vote for me.
Yeah.
And so like that is the power of the huge organizations. They can do that. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that tinfoil hat, this is happening all the time. But I'm sure there are agendas from people in power saying, this is our messaging for this party. Can you push this, and this, or whatever?
Yeah.
And some of it may be real issues and some of it may not be. Some may be semi-issues or whatever. And so the power of independent media is that it decentralizes that power. Yeah. And again, if we could find a way to not make everyone go into bubbles, because then it gets even more divisive, then it's the power back to the people because it's you're tuning into what you believe is true and has integrity kind of thing.
Yeah, and then there's always, capitalism is built... This is kind of... It's funny, it's probably a much bigger conversation, but, we just started our own membership website. So it's, $11.99 a month, or you can do, an annual thing, and you get early access to the pod. You get some, it's benefits, but the podcast is all still free. Yeah. So there's no podcast that you can't access, right? Yeah. But I believe that the ad model's broken. I don't think that the internet survives on ads forever. And if you go back through the history of the internet, then you see why it was like this. Initially, banks would not let payments be processed online. That was it.
Yeah.
So you had these websites that were getting millions and millions of page views, but they couldn't sell anything. So they had millions of people access to this. They couldn't access those people on the internet to sell. So what did they do? They then sold the eyeballs to advertisers. So this whole model that we're in of ads and marketing agencies and them spending money on the networks, all of this, it wasn't some grand conspiracy fucking thing where these guys wanted to stay with these. Yeah. It's literally just how the internet was built as a thing that was very new only, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And so we've just kind of headed off in this direction. Google came through and figured out the ad thing. And now all of our businesses revolve around ads,
Yeah.
And then you get a guy before Rogan and before these influential people, there's no competition in that marketplace. There wasn't even competition for those, the big ad dollars that were going to the huge networks, Yeah. So you get a guy like that and these other podcasts that pop up, and now you've actually got some competition in the marketplace. Yeah. But I just think ultimately everything leads away from ads essentially because it was the first model. It's the early way that they could monetize the internet, but I could go on forever about it, but it creates, you have to do a certain amount of content. You have to post on a certain schedule. You have to do X, Y, and Z. It's very formulaic. Modern creativity is held at ransom to an advertising model, essentially, and then for us, I got to the point where I was like, man, I actually want to spend a lot more time being a content company than a fucking ad agency.
Yeah.
I just literally felt, and again, we got great sponsors and the partners that I have got are awesome, but we just don't have a lot because I don't find that many people that I'm super down to put that time and energy kind of into,
Yeah.
So I think that there's a you get a guy like that comes along, like it is like a seismic shift, and I feel like it's happened, but the full like the tidal wave, like the repercussions of it, haven't kind of hit us yet. But I think it all just points to like we're just going away from like an advertiser model. Yeah,
like because back in the day as well, like subscribing to something for $5 was almost a bit of a punish. Like you got to do all these checks and balances. But as it becomes more secure and everything, like you might have 20 different subscriptions that are $1 each or something a month. And so I agree with you. I think like the subscription model as in or Patreon or whatever you want to call it, like I think that's almost the purest form of content that you could probably do because you are still beholden to an audience. So there's always going to be a bias to lean towards what pays people you financially.
Want to see,
to a degree.
But at least it's the people that support the show instead of people that are trying to like sell a product, I guess.
Exactly. And so like it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy of like, well, if you are biased towards that community, you're going to create content that community enjoys. So it kind of helps. And so I in a perfect world, like I really think that would be the best way forward for everyone is like just a subscription so that, the content creators can live. Because like that's the double-edged sword of the internet is like, the amount of content you get for free and the amount of hours that go into it. Like there might be a video that gets put up, it has 30,000 views. Now that gets no money on YouTube, like literally $0.
Yeah, literally.
And yet there's at least, let's say 30,000 views, there's at least 15,000 unique people that probably watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like that's 15,000 people.
That's an arena.
Got an hour, maybe like my podcast on Mondays, 4 hours, and they do or don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And so I'm not of the mind of like you should be paying for everybody content. Not at all.
I still think the free content's a great thing.
It's great. It's great because it gives you opportunity to get the loyal audience. Then the loyal, most people are pretty, a lot of people are quite, they understand the situation where like, for example, if you say guys like, if you're just honest with them, like, oh, guys, like I'm going a subscription, you'll still get the podcast, but, I'd really appreciate it. If you enjoy hours of content a week, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe. A lot of people will go, you know what? It's actually fair that I subscribe because I do get so much enjoyment out of it. And when you get to that, that's like, in my opinion, the essence of capitalism, where there's this fair trade. That's what it started as. I got apples. You got a pair of shoes. I need the shoes. You need the apples. Whereas it's gotten a bit poisoned, not a bit, a lot poisoned where, I've got shoes.
I got shoes that cost 3 cents to make, and because I'm telling you that they're fucking amazing.
Your feet are about to fall off or some shit.
Yeah.
You've got your whole house behind you.
Yeah.
So you've got to choose between your house and your feet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's where it's kind of gotten to.
Yeah.
Whereas the perfect version is both parties go, man, it was honestly, they didn't even give anything away.
Yeah.
It was just a trade.
Yeah.
And that I think is like long term. I hope. I mean, it's very glass half full thing and optimistic, all that kind of stuff.
No, but I mean, we've seen that. Like we didn't have like a crate. It's not like our entire audience was just like, yes.
Yeah.
But I mean,
have all this cash.
Yeah. But people have slowly and like we put up a podcast. Like I think the thing is like if you're like a gnarly dude that like listens to every single show the day it comes out, then this is for you.
Yeah.
Because you just literally get it like the next day as opposed to having to wait like weeks. And the people that have joined, I've sent everyone an email saying thanks, and the people are just like, hey, I've enjoyed this for a really long time, and I'm super pumped to support you. And it's like, thanks, that's awesome. I appreciate that. That's what we're doing it for. That's why it's here now. We can be in contact. Like it's for the people that want it. It's there, and if you're a person that wants to listen to it for free, it's still there.
Yeah.
And then I got sponsors on those podcasts because I need some compensation for the freeness of the thing.
Yeah, for the massive freeness.
Yeah.
Like it's interesting. If you actually showed the community, like I get, for example, our Monday show, probably about 60 to 65,000 downloads for the Monday show. You're looking at about 40 to 50,000. Out of that, if you were to say like, hey guys, could you pay $1 per show? You honestly might get 3,000 people that would pay that $1.
Yeah.
And so like it's still tiny percentage of people that are willing to, which is cool. I get it. I'm a content consumer too. If I had to pay for everything I consume, I'd be fucked. But I think a lot of people don't realize how many people are just consuming it for free. But I do think that portion of like as you said, of people that are going, are almost like becoming, not trained, it's a condescending word, but like understanding the situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Whereas back
yeah.
in the day, if you were a company that I consumed content from, I just see you as a huge conglomerate.
Yeah.
And in my head, you're fucking me some way. Like,
Yeah,
even though that might not
I'm
be
paying
true,
for this somehow.
Somehow I'm paying for this, whether
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
million
yeah,
ads or whatever.
yeah.
Whereas I think more people are getting to the point where they're like understanding, oh, this is just a dude and his mate, you know, and he's got wages to pay. Like, even if half the people pay, he's not some billionaire or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think that people are becoming a bit more literate and trustworthy of the businesses that they're engaging with.
And I think there's a bit of it too, to your point before about understanding that you're getting fed a narrative from like big media, and you know, and so I think people are. I think the subscription model is gonna work, and we might be 5 years early. We might be 10 years. Maybe it doesn't happen, but in my mind, I think it's the way that it's going. But because you're gonna get people that like they're gonna cancel their cable.
Yeah.
Like, people don't want fucking Fox and CNN. And
I haven't watched normal TV in years, bro.
Yeah.
Like, the last time I genuinely sat down and watched normal, like, mainstream TV, it might be 10 years, bro.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, 10 years. Like, I couldn't... There's not a single part of me that wants to sit back and just...
Watch Home and Away.
Watch Home and Away or whatever. Like, I remember when I met my wife now, and, like, you know, I wasn't anal about it or whatever, but I was like... I just said to her, like, this
So you
kind
brought
of
up
TV,
anal right when you met her.
Yeah, 100%. That's how I met her.
That's sick. Fair play.
She's a naughty girl.
God bless.
No. And so, like, I kind of had to not explain because it wasn't condescending or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is making your brain mush.
Yeah.
Like, all you're seeing all day on the news is like, fire here, person dies here, the world's gonna, like, nuclear war is on the radar and this, that. And don't get me wrong, like, these bad things are happening, but again, our monkey brains were not designed.
Do you need to be told this all day, every day?
Our monkey brains were not to be designed to hear every bit of the world's problems.
Yeah.
You're only really supposed to know your community's problems.
Yeah.
And so this overload of like world-ending stuff, it turns your brain to mush.
Yeah.
And so eventually, like, she wasn't like terrible at it or whatever, but like eventually she's like, you know what? I stopped watching TV for a little bit and my mood is just different.
Yeah.
It's different. And so, you know, I hear about the things I have to hear about for sure. Like, I'm not
Yeah,
headed in
you'll
the
hear
sand.
about the war in Russia.
Yeah,
Without
exactly.
watching the news every fucking day.
And like, oh my God. Like, you know, for example, if you were to take their word for it, like, Russia were dropping nukes
it's
2 months
over.
ago.
Yeah.
Like, if you were going to listen to what the news was saying, and I'm not sitting here saying that I have any insight into the Russia-Ukraine war, so I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying from a consumer's
If you took it on
perspective,
face value, the world ended. Or it was World War III in February last year.
Exactly. And that's, again, I'm not trying to take anything away from the Ukrainian people or anything. I don't know, like, what their heartbreak they're going through. I'm just saying from a media perspective, from a news perspective, you can't afford to. It'll fuck your mind up.
Yeah.
Imagine being a young kid and the 24-hour news has been on since you were like 8 years old. You would think the world is literally the worst place in the world.
Yeah.
Like, worst place in the world is the worst in the universe.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, compare that to maybe a young, let's say another kid where he's being told of all the opportunity in the world, or she's being told of all the opportunity.
Yeah.
They're going to have completely different outlooks on life.
Yeah.
I'd be pretty confident saying, and obviously I've got no science to back it up, one would be a pessimist.
And one would be an optimist.
One would be an optimist.
Yeah.
Your environment matters, man. It matters massively.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Well, mate, I got a black tie to get to.
Yes, I know.
I have thoroughly enjoyed this podcast, mate. You're a fucking G.
Thanks, bro.
And yeah, I'm stoked that we finally got to do it. Have a bit of a yarn. And
have to do it again, bro.
dude, yeah, I was going to
We
say.
didn't even talk about Bloke. We didn't even talk about anything. The career. I played a bit of footy, bro, if you want to know about it. Yeah.
Where'd you play? Oh, no, I just thought I was going to talk about myself a bit more. No, we definitely need a part
Next
two.
time I'm up on the Goldie.
Yeah,
we'll
when's your next trip, you reckon?
I reckon probably 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, okay,
Come back
cool.
and do something.
And so Bloke in a Bar is the podcast. Bloke Beer is fuck. We didn't talk about anything, bro. You serious?
like I'm going to sound like a dick, but I actually have the biggest sports podcast in the country.
I cooked it.
I don't give a fuck. I enjoyed it.
It was good to talk. It was just good to have a good old.
I appreciate it. I'll be back up plenty flow, because like man, every time I'll let you go. Every time I get to the Gold Coast, I'm like, man, I got to move back up here.
Yeah.
It's fucking so beautiful.
Yeah. No, well, we've enjoyed having you in the studio this week. Check out the pods that were ripped out of here this week, and appreciate you coming on. And next time we'll talk about more shit that you do.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me. And as I said, I'll be back on.
Appreciate it, brother.
Boom.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.